Train people well enough so they can leave. Treat them well enough so they don't want to. Richard Branson. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Podnuts Pro. I am your host, Marvin Bee, coming at you live from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It is another fantastic day. I hope that you all made some good money today. I had some interesting situations, and tonight's topic, I think, is very timely for me. As many of you have probably noticed in my Facebook post, we expanded our office. And pretty soon we'll be looking to bring back staff. Most of you don't know that in the beginning, I actually had technicians and office people working for me. I downsized. It's just me and the wife right now, but now we are looking to expand once again. So I brought two gentlemen on to help me talk about how to grow and manage your business, employees, office systems, whatever. So we are going to be hearing from Jason Miller with Unbound Digital and Tom Bill from Two River Computing. It is going to be a fantastic show. Might even be a little bit of a preview for those of you that will be attending Techcon Unplugged. And that is a conference we'll all be at later this year. And I'll go ahead and just do that announcement now. So Techcon Unplugged, a show hosted by our good friends over at MSP Unplugged, Jeff Hallish and Paco LeBron, along with John Dubinsky, September 17th through the 19th in Chicago, a conference that brings the IT community together. And usually it's just a Friday night, Saturday and Sunday affair, but this year they have added a Microsoft 365 boot camp that will start at 12 noon on Friday. So if you get in early, you can attend that, but you got to register. There's only 50 seats for that. It's included in the price of the ticket, which for the entire weekend is only $199. Head over to Techcon Unplugged, grab your seat, get your hotel, get your plane ticket. As I said, I will be there, and we will be doing some sessions on Sunday. And the site actually looks pretty good. They have added more vendors that will be there to provide us with tools to help us run our business and take care of our clients better. So techconunplugged.com. I do want to say thank you. In the last week, I received a couple of donations. Marius, I think that's how you pronounce it, gave a donation on PayPal, and Rami became a Patreon. So I appreciate both of those. Folks, if you would like to help this show in any way, you can do what these gentlemen did. You can go over to podnutspro.com and click on the support link, and you can either do a PayPal donation, a buy me a coffee donation, sign up for Patreon, or you can click the store and go to Amazon and just shop and pay for things as you normally would. Everything stays the same, but a little bit of commission comes back to the show, helps me pay for the streaming, and helps me compensate for bringing these guests on and doing this great show. So head over to podnutspro.com. You can also listen to the back catalog of episodes, find your favorite guest, and you can either watch or listen. You can subscribe to your favorite podcatcher and, of course, get the audio, and then the YouTube video will be there. And as you can see, if you are watching us live, we stream just about every Wednesday, both to YouTube and the Facebook. Sometimes we have a post show. So if you're watching, you get to see that. If you're listening to the audio, you won't get that. I'm sorry. We cut that out because that's when things might get crazy. And the FCC, well, I don't know if they watch us or not, but we try to take care of those things. All right. So I think that is it for announcements. I have a very special announcement, but let me go ahead and bring our gentlemen into the screen here. As I mentioned, Jason Miller and Tom Bull. Guys, how are you?
Doing great.
Marvin.
All right. And Tom is the only one I see that did the branding thing.
Well, the picture that you picked of me, I was looking for another picture, and had my logo and had my face mask with the logo on. I figured you could probably take one more logo.
Well, I thought about that because I have one as well that has my logo on it.
There you go.
So, although we kind of stopped wearing it down here in the wild state of Florida.
Totally. We had a lot of local people making masks back early on when you couldn't get them.
Right.
So I was taking old T-shirts and I was giving them to these local women's groups that were making masks, and they were, I got a whole bunch of them. Some of them are terrible, but I mean, look at this one. This is a mask. It's it's kind of terrible.
That covers your whole freaking face.
Covers your whole face. And I've got, I have a lot of them. Some good, some bad. But.
All right. Well, nice giveaways. Why don't you bring them to the conference?
There you go.
For people that are not vaccinated, wear a mask. And Mr. Miller, I see that you are, I don't know what that is. What is that room?
This is the office in the new house.
Oh, the house that's so big you don't have enough furniture to fill it?
We have plenty of furniture. We just have nothing on the walls yet. We're still working on getting stuff put up. So.
Okay. All right. And I'm here in my office. I'm still in the bright white office. I have not yet transferred over to the new space. It is quite empty and quite echoey. And there is no soundproofing. Even when it rains, it is loud. So I have to take care of a couple of those things before I can get over in the new space, but it shall be nice when it is finished. So I think we have a big announcement, and I don't have the song because I don't know if we're allowed to play it, but happy birthday, Mr. Bull.
Oh, thank you very much. Wow, that's a big announcement. That is frightening. How old do you think I am? My God.
I know how old you are, but I'm not going to say it on air.
That's funny. Thank you very much.
So you posted that one of your favorite things was to go to a spot and you had dinner with the fam.
I did. Yeah, there's a local spot. I mean, we're very lucky. The name of the company is Two River Computer because we're nestled on a peninsula in between two rivers that feed into the ocean. So we've got a lot of restaurants along the ocean, and of course, great spots to go to along both of those rivers. And there's one right down the street that's just phenomenal. And they have the best fried zucchini that I've ever eaten. I eat it everywhere I go if it's on the menu. I pay for it the next day, but I still eat it and will continue to eat it. And that's my big birthday celebration. Going there, having my fried zucchini, a beer, and a burger. It's a good day.
All right. And Mr. Miller tried to sneak into Florida without letting me know.
Yeah, no. Well, we were nowhere near you. I mean, well, I guess kind of. But yeah, it was very hot. Yeah, it's very hot.
It is.
It was 95 with a real feel of 106, and I felt every bit of it.
Wow.
Walking around Disney World for 5 days straight, I sweated more than I have in my life.
It's what happens when you're in the middle of the state.
Yeah, exactly.
So no ocean breeze gets that far.
No.
But now, did you do all the parts or just one or two? How did you guys do the 5 days?
Oh yeah, we did all the parks. 2 parks we did 2 days of, to make sure we got all the rides. So all the new Star Wars rides are amazing, and of course, build your lightsaber, build droids, all that good stuff. And we took some extended family with us, so a niece and nephew, plus our kids and my wife, of course. So got to take her. Actually, she planned it. So, but either way, it was a great time. Yeah, had a good time. It was more of a go vacation than it was a rest. So I'm looking forward to the next one, which is going to be a rest.
Nice.
Okay. Well, that's not the Chicago trip, right?
Oh, no. No, that's fun too. We get to hang out, cut up, have a good time. So.
Yep, we're going to do that. Speaking of Chicago, are you guys staying Sunday night through Monday, or when are you guys leaving?
Monday morning. Yeah.
You're leaving Monday morning, Tom?
Yeah, Monday, lunchtime.
Okay. So I haven't booked my ticket yet. That's why I asked. Because normally, we don't have much to do Sunday night. I think the last ones that we went to, both on conventions, and I think I hosted a dinner every one of those.
Hmm.
So
Well, we were together the last night of the Grand Rapids, right?
Yep.
We were in that brewery.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll figure that out. So I'll extend my plane ticket to Monday morning. We'll figure out something to do on Sunday night. Hang out.
Flights are expensive, Marvin. Be ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was more than I expected. I'm bringing one of our technicians that we're kind of initiating into the field. She's been with us a year and a half, and she's been on the phone and she's on the bench, and so she's slowly going out into the field. So I wanted to bring her with us. So
You sure you want to do that?
all of a sudden it's like, wow, I could make this half price by just cutting someone out. But now it's a good perk, right? Go to Chicago, have some fun, learn.
Yeah. It'll be
meet some
good, and
people.
you get to meet people in our industry and our crew. We all share information and all that good stuff.
It's interesting. The other technicians, I try to tell them about the Facebook groups and what a valuable resource that is. To be in a no snark zone on MSP Unplugged and be able to ask what might be a stupid question and not get beat up for it and get an answer and gain access to all the wonderful people that are willing to help. There's a lot of resources there. And I think once she comes and meets people in person and establishes those relationships like I did, it'll be easier to participate in that stuff.
So speaking of relationships like you, so you didn't know about the little Podnuts community and all that stuff until the Washington, D.C. convention. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
I
didn't know who the podcasters were. It sounded like a motorcycle gang,
More like a moped gang.
Yeah, right. So they're, rattling off who they all are. And I was like, yeah, I don't know who any of these people are. And I was following Matthew Rodella and his friendly neighborhood computer guy newsletter and stuff. And that's how I came to come to Washington.
Yep. And look at you now. You're one of the elderly statesmen of the group.
It's because of the birthday and the gray hair, right? That's how I earned that.
Oh my. All right. So let's get on with this, folks, and we'll get to our topic. But of course, first we have to go in the news. So, of course, for the last few weeks, most people have been talking about the new Windows 11 that will be coming out. And of course, the big controversy is that you won't be able to install Windows 11 on unsupported PCs. This move has surprised users because, of course, with Windows 10, you could almost install it on anything. And now Microsoft is making it so that even newer machines that are running Windows 10 may not run Windows 11. So, of course, Microsoft decided to have an Ask Me Anything session where they were going to clarify all of these things. And Microsoft's Aria Carley didn't do such a great job. There has been a backlash of people saying that the video was basically Microsoft being tone deaf. Ari says that the great thing to remember is the reason we are doing that is to keep devices more productive, have a better experience, and better security than ever before so that they can stay protected in this new workforce. It has even gotten so bad that even modifying group policy to temporarily allow the update is not possible. So people are speculating that Microsoft is doing this for a couple of reasons. One, that they need to recoup all the money they lost in giving away Windows 10 for free, and that Windows 11 will require fresh license purchases. So, of course, this has gotten people to think that Windows 11 will be another Windows 8. Shall see how that is. And in Florida Man news, you may not know the name Reza Baluchi, but you should. He has tried to do something that has just been absolutely ridiculous. And I am going to quickly run over and grab a video, because when you see what this man has done, it is going to shock you. So just in the last 3 days, he tried to go from St. Augustine, Florida to the coast of New York by running inside of this bubble in the ocean. And after 30 miles, he had to be rescued by the Coast Guard. His objective was to raise money for public services, including the Coast Guard, police, fire services, and homeless people. And basically, he had to spend everything he earned on the rescue attempt that they did for him. Now, the reason I say you should know him is that he also did the same thing in 2014 when he tried to go from Florida to Bermuda and Puerto Rico. And again in 2016 when he tried to go from Fort Lauderdale to Bermuda. And in those two previous cases as well, he had to be rescued. He was found by the Coast Guard. He was described as fatigued and had activated distress, all of that good stuff. And the gentleman is from Boca Raton, Florida, so right up the road from me. And that is your Florida man story today. As you watch the video, if you're watching, that is him on the ocean trying to run in a bubble. It is, what can I say about Florida man, folks?
You have an endless supply of material.
Of course I do. We're the 4th largest state. Everybody runs from other states to come here for whatever reason.
Taxes.
No income tax. Yeah.
Income tax.
We have ocean on just about every coast of our state. Tropical paradise, the closest thing you can get to the Caribbean without leaving the lower 48. And for most people, Jason, they like it hot. They can lay on the beach and get a tan like me.
No, forget that. That's too hot. Yeah. I like my air conditioning. So.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. So let's move on to our topic today. And the reason I mentioned earlier that this was very timely, of course, I'm expanding my office. I'm getting to the point where I am really too busy to try to keep doing this by myself. Even with the wife helping full-time in the business, it gets to be a lot. So going back to having staff, and I think that it's just something that we all need to deal with, especially people that are maybe just starting out and want to get to that, $1 million MSP level as quick as they can, or they're tired of working by themselves and they need to grow. So I figured, why not get 2 of the most successful people I know in the industry and get some tips and talk about what we can do to grow and run our business properly.
Who's he going to ask, Jason?
I don't know. I was wondering the same thing.
So why don't we just start with, you guys, how would you describe your journeys to get to where you are? And we'll start with that, and then we'll ask questions and go over bullet points. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I actually really like my story. I like to tell it because I think it can help other business owners, not just computer people. But I started the business with a vision of what I was going to be and what it was going to do, and I had the business plan and I had all that stuff, and I had a pretty clear roadmap for where I was going, what I was doing, and I had anticipated revenue streams and all kinds of stuff. So this is back in 2006. And I soon found out that, I was not Steve Jobs, and I could not tell people what they wanted. I had to give them what they needed. So I started to react to the street and react to not only what I could provide, but what they wanted and how I could learn it. And anybody that's in this business knows that, there's really no time where you can become complacent. There's always something new coming out, and you if you work in a vacuum in a corporate environment that never upgrades anything ever, and it's the same thing over and over again, okay, then maybe you could get just really good at that and nothing else. But in around here, what I was doing is just reacting to everything. People wanted parental controls for their kids. They wanted upgrades. They wanted Wi-Fi. They wanted televisions. They wanted all kinds of technology things. And my roadmap went out the window because I chose to listen to the money. And instead of being stubborn and staying on track, I just followed it. And it took me to where I am now. And I'm really happy where I am. And a lot of people who do what we do don't agree with the choices that I've made, but I love it. I'm really happy. But so in the end, it was me listening to people and not being too stubborn.
So when you say that some people may not have agreed with the choices you made, I mean, are there specific things that come up that somebody says, why would you do that in this, how can you run a business like that or something?
Well, it's more about choices. And like Jason recently chose to stop doing residential for the right reasons, for his reasons. And I chose to keep doing it because it's more of a community service for me. I don't have a lot of competition. I live in an upscale area where the emphasis is on service, and it's on site, and it's on, kind of an upper level. And they're willing to pay it, and I'm willing to do it. So, but a lot of people that do what we do think that me doing residential at all is a mistake, or doing break fix and not doing MSP, I must be off my rocker. And I embrace it. I really, really enjoy what I do. I enjoy the interaction with people. The 300 people that we see every month, not just the 10 customers I have that I'm billing 10 invoices every month. That's just not for me.
All right. Jason, what's your story?
My story. Well,
true story.
True story. Yeah. So I used to be an engineering mechanical designer, design front end loaders, backhoes, automated machinery, assembly lines, stuff like that. So coming from a totally different background than IT is basically what I'm trying to say there. But kind of got started in IT because one of my buddies was like, "Hey, come see me at my company here. I started my job at this new company, and you help me with the computer all the time. Just see what you can do." So I showed up and said, "Hey, I work a full-time job after hours." Of course, in those jobs, you get off at 2:30, 3 o'clock because you started early, because it got hot in manufacturing plants and stuff like that. So they let all the workers off early. So everybody worked early to mid-afternoon. So it worked out well. Kind of got started with that one customer. Started doing some residential out of the house. And that one customer was a business, of course. And then got my feet wet because they're like, "Hey, we have like 2 computers and now we need like 15, and we need a server and a document management server." I had no clue, never touched a server in my life. I said, "Sure, no problem." So I ended up custom building a server, put in a domain controller, lots of Googling, no cool Facebook groups back then, with all these cool people to help out. So it was really a school of hard knocks. Messed up a few things, mainly DHCP and DNS. So didn't know what I was doing at the time. A couple of issues here and there, figured it out, spent many hours, put in a document management server a little while later and kind of got that kicking. But did a lot of stuff out of my house, and then finally decided that one of my buddies, he was I went to teach after my engineering job. So I was going to teach drafting classes, found out I'm not a teacher. I would kill a kid. I found that out real quick. So long story short, I filled in for a guy who was going to have a program at another school. So forget it. So got laid off in December. Of course, school doesn't start till the next year, till August. So I was like, I got to do something. Kind of working on my now wife, but she's my girlfriend at the time's house. Her dad let me hang out there all the time. They had upstairs. So I made a computer shop upstairs that no one was in, and kind of started doing stuff out of the house. Kept getting told no by people because I was working out of the house, and I don't want to bring my computer to your house. So one of my buddies had a hot tub store and tanning bed store. He's like, "I got a 20 by 20 room in the back. You want to have that?" I said, "Sure." So helped deliver hot tubs, put people in tanning beds, and they helped check in computers when I was on service calls. It worked out. So it's pretty cool. And then some things with taxes he wasn't paying, I had to get out. So before they come padlock the door, so me and a web designer and a printer guy went into a 550 square foot house on the main road. And a year later, it's just me. They ended up moving out and kind of took over the space, ended up hiring my first employee, but kind of just mainly residential. Didn't really get into MSP until a few years later. I had a referral to a library, needed a graphics card put in from another IT company. And so I showed up and helped them out and just started helping them out over and over and over again. And then they're like, "You have a contract? Monthly payments?" It's like, "Yeah, sure. No problem." Went home, pieced something together. Not the way you should do it. Pieced something together from about 40 documents, ended up getting my first contract and on a monthly retainer, and figured that's the way I need to do this. So kind of started MSP and still had the shop. And fast forward many years later, I've ended up getting rid of residential. Now we're MSP and business only break fix. So it's kind of how we got there. Been doing this since 2000, so a few years.
All right. So both of you have obviously grown your business. So let me ask the first question of, what was it that made you get to the point where it was time to hire that first employee? And what was your decision process as to which type of employee to hire, whether admin or tech?
Well, I went with when it comes first, when we had that little house that we were had our business in. It was more of a storefront, it's a converted house, but we it was just me. So whenever I went out and did service calls, so I was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to do service calls between 8 and 11, and I'm going to open 11 to like 6 for the store, because most people didn't come in the morning times for residential. They don't want to get out of bed, or they're at work and they come in around lunchtime. So, or after work. So I stayed open 11 to 6 for that. So I kind of ran service calls in the morning, had a note on the door, call me if you're here, need to drop off a computer. Looking kind of crazy. So wasn't, at the point where I could afford a lot at the time, barely making it. So I was like, well, talking to my wife, we're like, well, we need help. And so ended up hiring a guy I knew from where I was next to the hot tub store. I talked to this guy all the time. He's married to one of my friend's family members. So just talking to him, he knew a little bit about computers, ended up hiring him part-time from the music store. So he started working for us, and because the music store closed down, and going from part-time to full-time in a matter of probably 3 months, because we really needed it. And that really kind of slingshot our business, because having that extra help was able to run more service calls, make more money. He was making money while I was out. And of course, we tag team computers when I come back. So really, it was just a leap of faith, to be honest. I mean, it was, I really need the help. I'm losing business because I can't be in 2 places, and just kind of went for it.
Right. So he helped you technical wise.
Yes.
And it sounded like you had to train him, right?
Yeah. He knew a little bit, not much, but yeah, we helped him out a lot. So.
All right. And Tom, what about you and your expansion?
Interesting. So without the big backstory, I was 10 years with a manufacturer and then 15 years business to business. There was no MSP model back then, but we were just taking care of business networks for people. So I had not been a technician in quite a while. I had my NetWare CNE from 1997 or something, and I had an NT certification, but I didn't really have any certs, and I wasn't really that good. I'm technically astute, but I'm not really a technician. But as I started my company wanting to be more of a consultant, it ended up being more of computer repair. So people would ask me, hey, can you fix this computer? I'm like, yeah, I'm busy trying to, do the consulting thing, which I was doing some business process engineering stuff mostly. But so I would stop by and grab a computer and bring it home and fix it and bring it back the next day. And then, so that started, on the dining room table. And then I got a table in the basement, and then I got a second table in the basement, and then a third table in the basement. I'm like, all right, I got to do something, because I was home. I was in the basement working and not spending time with my family, and not engaging the right way. And I saw that the business was going a different direction. And like I said, I was kind of following the money. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get a space, and I'm going to take these 3 6-foot tables to the space, and I'm just going to go there. I'll leave at 7 in the morning and come home at 7 at night. But when I'm done for the day, I'm done. So my wife loved that idea and gave her basement back, and started doing that. And I was doing my invoicing on Sunday, and it used to take me, half hour, an hour. When it started to take 2 or 3 hours, that was the first hire I made. I hired somebody to do the bookkeeping for me. So to do that kind of admin part. So that freed me up at least on Sundays, and at other times, because she would go to my office and she would work there, and people would drop off. And I said, oh, you can go any day from here to here to do a drop off. So that whole thing started. Well, I needed to get parts, and I didn't have any established relationships anywhere. So I'm going into Geek Squad or Best Buy or Staples, and I'm grabbing a video card or a network card or whatever I needed. So I became very friendly with the manager at Staples, and because I was seeing him almost daily, it felt like. And I asked him about the technicians and who was any good. And he told me about this guy, Kevin. And I said, do you mind if I poach him? And he said, well, yeah, he's our best one. And I go, okay, well, thanks. So I approached Kevin and I said, listen, I don't want to take you out of Staples, but what days are you not, are you working full time? And they're like, no, we don't, they don't let anybody work full time, because then they'd have to give them benefits. So it was like 30 hours a week. And I go, well, I have an idea. I said, how about you come and you work for me Tuesday and Thursday from, I don't know, whatever it was, 3 to 6. And I'm going to save up some computers and I'm going to give them to you. And I'm going to give you $25 a computer for every computer you fix. So he'd come in on a Tuesday and he'd work for 3 hours and fix 5 computers. So, he'd make himself $125 in a couple hours. So this went on for weeks. And I was kind of trying him out, and his work was great. I tried to stump him a couple of times by, moving a wire and putting in a fixed IP address and telling him to figure out why I won't get on the internet, doing all kinds of stuff, messing with the DNS. And I did all of this stuff and finally realized that he was actually quite good. And then I offered him a job. So I had my admin person in place, and then I had him in place. And so he stayed at the shop all day. He never went out. And all the repairs came in, people would call, he'd answer the phone, arrange the tickets, which were all by hand. I think I had one laying around here somewhere. It was like a 3-part, tear off thing.
Yep, I remember those.
With my little metal clipboard, and he would take care of all of that. And he became, our senior technician. And at a point where I was super comfortable with how he was on the phone, and he knew the clients, and he really knew the product. It was probably 3 years before I let him go on site. And I let him go with me. We went together for a while, and then I let him go on his own. So it was slow. And then after that, it was easy to start adding more technicians. But after getting that first one and the way that it was done, the way that worked for me with the piecemeal for, it had to be 3 months. And then, brought him on full time. So that became kind of easy.
All right. So it sounds like from both of you that, you added people because you were busy. So let me ask, how did you get busy? How was it that you actually got customers? Was it a concerted effort? Was it referral, networking? What did you guys do?
You want to go first, Jay?
Oh, sure. Well, back in the residential days, there was this little book called the Little Coupon Book, and you could put just $200 a month or something, and they put you in a little book. They put them out, like 15,000 of them at all kinds of different restaurants, doctors' offices, stuff like that. And back then, coupons were a big deal. So people trying to save a buck. And I stayed in that book probably 5 or 6 years, and we had a flat fee in our shop at the time to fix computers. So we just advertised that. We didn't really give a discount, even though it's a coupon book. And then we give like $10 off antivirus or something, but we're still making money on it. So you try and sell the flat fee labor, the antivirus, and whatever parts, trying to make some money. So that book brought in a ton of customers. And then over time, word of mouth referrals, because we made sure everything was done right. There were several other companies in the area that they get a lot of bringbacks, or one guy would like load if you want to wipe and reload, he downloaded the Dell disk and loaded it, and it's 6 years old, and has the old, 5-year-old antivirus still on it and stuff. And he loaded the disk and let it go. And it's like, what? No, you got to, load it from scratch, do all the updates, all the recent drivers, you had to do it right. So we did it the correct way and resolved any issues, and kept people happy because, I wouldn't let somebody be angry at us. If you had a issue, we just take care of it. Sometimes you got to bend over backwards, make sure that the customer's happy. So that's kind of how we got a lot of referrals in the beginning, and keep on booking word of mouth. So
coupons.
Once I realized that I was going to be fixing computers in people's houses, and just kind of gave in to that, I had to put money on the food on the table and stuff, and it was working. So I decided that I was going to embrace it 100%. So what I did, I'd already been kind of a pretty active person in community, very active at church. I teach Sunday school. I'm there every week. I'm a minister of hospitality. So people know me. They're shaking my hand, saying hello to me all the time. And I've been a coach of everything in my small town for a long time. So a lot of parents and kids knew me. So I played like a realtor, and I made these brochures with my picture on them. So people would go, I know that guy. I know him from church. It's my kid's coach or whatever. And I made deals with several local businesses. And I got those little brochure stands, and it was like a thing like this. It had my picture at the top and all the things that I did. And I took one of these things with like 100 brochures, and I brought it to the pizzeria. I brought it to the local deli. I brought it to the convenience store. I brought it to the dry cleaner. I brought it to the bookstore. I brought it to the coffee shop. And I said to the owner, put this out front and center, not behind the beef jerky or whatever, and out front and center. And I'll take care of your computers for free. In fact, let's make an appointment right now. When can I come and do that? So I did that with all the business owners. And the funniest thing is we have a local convenience store called Krauser's. And I would go into Krauser's. It was back when I was smoking, unfortunately. So I was in Krauser's almost every day. And I'd go in there and they go, you have some messages. People called because they remembered seeing your brochure, but they didn't know where to find you. So they called and left a message. And because we said you're here every day. So I used to pick up messages there. And one time I looked at it. And at one point from the beginning of time, I got over 260 referrals just from Krauser's. So 260 jobs just from Krauser's. So every Christmas, I'd go in with crisp $100 bills and give one to each of the people that worked in the Krauser's. And they were foreigners, they're coming in from whatever part of the world they were from. And this was a big deal. $100 was like a big deal. And to me, I was like, at that point, I was rolling in it, there wasn't much overhead and there was a lot of money coming in. So it was a good way to spend my marketing dollar. So between that and advertising in the church bulletin, and I took a big ad, with my face on it. And, and at the bottom, I do this and antivirus and blah, blah, blah. And I wrote, see you in church, because they would all see me at church. And that got a lot of traction. And from there, it was pretty easy.
So let me ask this, because I started my business because the computer store that I worked at did not believe in doing anything on site and didn't do business. So it was basically, you brought your computer to us. And I said, people are asking for us to go to them. Why don't we do that? And he said, nah, don't need to. And the whole reason I started my business was because of that. So I thought that I would do a combination of a computer store plus an out service type system. But of course, nowadays, the MSP way is not to do a store. So both of you still have stores. Why are you shaking your head, Jason?
He doesn't.
No, I don't have a store. I mean,
it looks like a store.
Well, so we leased the space. We had
Yeah.
residential the first year we were up there,
Okay.
and then we've not had residential for the past 2-ish years now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So when we got rid of it, we're leasing the space. We're looking at buying a building. So the choice is: do I spend money on a lease space that I'm going to have to leave behind, or do I want to, put that money back and put it towards the down payment on the building? So when you walk in our front door, we have probably a 25 by 15 room that's kind of got some shelving and some computers and stuff that kind of looks like the store. But the rest of the space, we got about 4,550 square feet, is all offices, big meeting room, big conference room. So I mean, the majority of our space is not a store. And if
Okay.
it was up to me, if I needed that space, I'd probably redo it in the front. But it's probably the smallest part of the space. But I just don't want to spend the money on it because we're going to move in another 2 years. So
All right. And you said you
Yeah.
have what, 4,500 square feet?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on a
But-
road
but-
trip. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was going to say we have 15 people, so we have to have a lot of space. So it's we're outgrowing that sometimes. So
I was on a road trip last month with my son, and it was a pub crawl, an interstate pub crawl, and we stopped in Johnson City, Tennessee, to specifically see Jason and Rachel and go to their place. And I was really impressed because, they've got this great control room where all the guys are on headset and you can see the dashboard up there, what's going on, and stuff's blinking, and and it's like being at NASA. It's pretty impressive, and they've laid it out really nicely. They have this beautiful conference area, but Rachel's office, wow. So it's teal, so it's teal and white, and it's very classy, and it's and she's got the double monitor set up that he goes and buys some spray paint and paints it teal to match. It's not black.
Are you kidding me?
No, dude. But it was really cool. It was really cool. She's a diva, man, and she's my hero.
she couldn't have a black monitor stand when all the furniture's
No.
white and you got teal accent colors. So I had to make it teal to match. So
It looked great. So the whole place, very impressive operation. Nice building, nice everything. But you could totally see where people would come in off the street and say, hey, can you fix my computer? Either because they knew of you previously or some other reason. And they got the sign on the door that, all resident or walk-in stuff, call this guy. So.
Yeah, we sold our residential business to another local tech. And really, in our area, residential, we had a hard decision to make because it was us, this other guy we sold our business to, then your normal Best Buy Geek Squad. There was no other official computer stores. So I kind of felt bad to not do that. I mean, we were fixing a lot of computers a month and through our store, but it was just holding us back. So nothing against anybody that does residential, but for our move, I don't like to ever put anybody down because I do residential, because I did that many years. There's nothing wrong with it.
Nope.
And in some places it's perfectly great, but we were at a point in our business that we had to make that hard decision to say, hey, even though we're making decent money over here, we're going to cut out, tens of thousands of dollars, multiple tens of thousands of dollars to throw away and move towards business. But I mean, we've made that money, probably 4 or 5 times that. Just getting rid of that, our processes could move forward. The residential side was holding back the ticketing system, the RMM stuff we couldn't do, so it's just a headache. So
well, you gotta do what's right for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I think a lot of it too has to do with the geography of it. If I go 10 miles any direction, I mean, I can't go into the ocean, but if I go south, west, or north, my model doesn't work. It doesn't work because it's not an upscale enough community necessarily, because the people that live here commute to New York City. So they're all like Wall Street people, like really, like 7-figure incomes, 7-figure homes all over. And it's just a different, it's a different thing. It doesn't always work. And virtually, like Jason said, I don't have that other guy. I have the Geek Squad, and that's 20 minutes away or so. I have Staples, which no one really wants to go to anyway. But the Apple store is 45 minutes away, and 3 of our techs are Apple certified, and the mix, we get 40 to 45% max on the bench. So it's good work. It's complicated, and it's profitable for us. It doesn't always work for everybody, but we don't have a store either. We're on the second floor of a 2-story building, and there's a hair salon downstairs, and there's a hardware store kind of place downstairs. And I put a dumbwaiter in to send the computers up and down from the first floor to the second floor when I moved into the building. And I sized it for a 27-inch iMac. So you can fit a 27-inch iMac in that thing and send it up and down, which was great during COVID. People would come in, ring the bell, we'd send the car down, they put the thing in, send it back up, and we had already got their money, their deposit money. So it worked out really well. But we don't have a quote unquote store. People can't even buy a cable in here. We don't sell any of that. So it's not what you may think. And
Okay.
similar to Jason, it's like he's got a walk-in place, but it's not a store.
Okay. Oh, I guess that's kind of like me. I've got a walk-in office, but it's not a store, even though I have inventory here. I did it because I didn't want people to come into the house.
Sure.
And all of my clients, well, I'd say 99% of my business is business. And they want a business image. So for them to, I've got maybe 1 or 2 people that show up every now and then if they're going to drop something off or things like that. So, but I've got 2,000 square feet that I got to fill up now. So that's what we're working on. There's a question that came in from the chat. So let me go ahead and get that here. And where's my glasses? Do any of you use subcontractors? If so, do you force them to sign a non-compete? And I'll go ahead and answer first. I use subcontractors. I actually have 4 across the state because I've got clients that have offices both here in Fort Lauderdale, but down in Miami, West Palm, Tampa, Orlando. I had clients up in Jacksonville, Tallahassee. So I had subcontractors that I use for everything. And then I've got a couple local here that when I need to scale up my business and have people help me, do a customer move or something, guys that I've known for years work with me. They are subcontractors. No, they do not sign a non-compete. That is something that probably wouldn't work down here in Florida anyway, but we just have felt that we haven't had to. Now, the one thing that I am doing is anybody that goes into my medical offices where we have a HIPAA BAA, the Business Associate Agreement in place, I have to have them sign a similar Business Associate Agreement with me that they're going to abide by HIPAA laws when they go visit my clients. So that's what happens there. So that was a long answer, I know, but do you guys, I know you guys have tons of employees, but do you ever use subcontractors?
I do, yeah. So not I guess computer fixing contractors, but the contractors we use are more cabling guys. So we have a cabling company here locally that they used to be an IT company with a cabling division. They sold off their IT side. Now they only have, and we were neck and neck competitors for years. And so it's kind of wild, it's like you're competitors with this guy, and then now he sells off his IT side to another company. And then, now we're really good friends. He has about 15 people that do nothing but cabling. So they do all of our, Cat 6 cabling, all the patch panels, cabinets, hang our access points for us, and then fiber, all that good stuff. We don't have them sign a non-compete. They're not really, I guess, totally competing with us, but and it kind of works out. We send them a ton of cabling. They send us computer work back and refer us businesses. So it kind of works out really well. And sometimes we'll go in together where he no longer has the IT side of things. We recently bid a job for one of the local cities here doing a big project together. So he provides the cabling, we provide all the technology. So it's kind of a back and forth, kind of referral type thing. But no, we haven't ever signed a non-compete or really any kind of agreements, but it just kind of works out. So
I use a low voltage, well, actually I use a high voltage electrician to do a lot of the work in the residential stuff, because it's hard to run wire in an established home. So you really need somebody who knows what they're doing. But he's not really a sub for me. I'm not interested I don't do enough to like hire him and then mark his stuff up. I just assume he'd go direct and have the relationship directly with the client, just in case anything that he does backfires. I don't get pulled into any lawsuits or anything, so I prefer to keep it that way. But the answer to the question is no, I don't use subcontractors, but yes, I use non-competes, and I use them with all my employees. They have to sign a non-compete, and that they won't go work for a client. They won't, if they leave, they won't take another employee with them. Kind of the basic stuff. But to your point, Marvin, it's hard to enforce a non-compete if you're going to stop somebody's livelihood. You tell them they can't fix computers in a 5-mile radius. That could probably kind of hold up, but I'm not going to pay an attorney to enforce that. And that's why it's hard, but it puts it in their mind when they sign it. And if and when separation happens, I give them a letter and I remind them, and you are reminded that you signed this, and this paragraph says this and this says that. So just as, keep it in their head, but that there is no competition around here unless they were going to leave and start one on their own and compete directly with me. Then I would sue their asses. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we do non-competes for employees.
Yeah.
And I actually had one employee leave, go to a direct competitor, and that direct competitor contacted us because we do like a 6-month non-compete. So the other competitor contacted us and pretty much asked us, hey, will you sign this document waiving your non-compete rights? And of course, we left on good terms, all that good stuff. So I signed it, didn't care, but it is there. It is in the back of their minds, and you could enforce it with a lawyer, but if it come down to it, so.
Yeah, almost no one ever does. It's just too expensive.
Nah.
But I just like to, just be thinking about it. So don't try and screw me.
Yeah, it's tough. But down here in Florida land, there's so many unscrupulous contractors and subcontractors. And of course, if your client contacts them, it's not enforceable.
Right.
So that's what, and I did have that happen. I had one of my techs went to go work for a client, and it was funny because they thought they were being all sneaky and stuff. And, we knew, but in 6 months they were, both out of work because the client basically went belly up and the tech had to go get another job somewhere else. So actually it worked out great for me because I got rid of a bad employee and a bad client and didn't have to do anything.
There you go.
All right. This next question that actually came from the chat as well is similar to a question I was going to ask you. And the way that I was going to ask you was based on the Michael Gerber's E-Myth book. But the question comes in as, do you both manage the business, or do you have a manager or delegate some management? And the way I was going to ask the question is, how do you guys work on the business and not in the business?
Those of you who've ever listened to me talk, because some of the things I really like to talk about is the fact that I am a disciple of process, and process is very important to me in the way that we do things on the bench, the way that we onboard a client, the way that we invoice and collect. All of those things are written processes, and they always have been. And Gerber talks about that in the book, like, you don't have to be a McDonald's franchise to function like one. So you need a book and a Bible to go by, something to hand the employee on the first day, and that kind of stuff. So as part of that, I have relegated parts of my week to specific tasks. I have a marketing day, I have a finance day, I have a sales day, I have a proposal day. And I've blocked off these times that I don't do other things. I only do those things. And that's me working on the business, right? And that's probably a good 10 to 15 hours per week that I'm working on it. And I really have to be diligent about it. And the staff knows, don't ever schedule me for anything during those times, because even though if my choice, if my plate gets full doing something else and I really have to get the proposal out, I will, but I try to be really strict about it and stay within the confines of the schedule. And that really helps me to stick to it. And I do delegate. I I have a person that's in charge of admin. I have a person that's in charge of the shop techs, and I have a person in charge of the field techs. And I, push the stuff down and out.
Yeah. Yeah. For us, we have a couple different managers. So we have different kind of, I don't guess really sides, but we have a help desk. We have 5 people in the help desk. So we have a help desk manager that pretty much manages them, keeps them on task, make sure things are happening, checking tickets, make sure things are flowing properly. If they're people are replying to tickets, staying on top of the text to make sure they're, quickly getting back to people, or, also more knowledgeable guy. So the other help desk go to him. We don't have like really levels in our help desk. We kind of got rid of that a long time ago. We tried it; it wasn't working right. So any of our help desk can solve any problem. It's kind of let them learn and grow. It's kind of our motto. And so the help desk manager, of course, is one of the more knowledgeable guys. So he helps them learn and grow by, here, you do it. I'm going to tell you how to do it, and stand over their shoulder. Let them talk to the customer, all that stuff. So I have him to kind of delegate. He delegates all the help desk. I have another manager, which is our kind of our right-hand man that helps us run the business too. But he basically is over all of our field engineers that go out in the field, and he kind of is also over the help desk as well. And then of course, Rachel, my wife, is full-fledged accountant, and so she's kind of the manager, I guess you'd say. Over we have another executive assistant / bookkeeper that helps her with billing and all that good stuff. So I guess we kind of technically have 3 managers. I do still step in and manage some stuff here and there and make sure projects are flowing. But a lot of my job is engineering different projects, engineering installs, dealing with customer sales, onboarding, stuff like that. So
yeah, I still work in it, and the way that I work in it is a lot of it's by choice. Like what Jason's saying, I'm kind of a project manager at times, pulling together the resources, whether that's equipment, people, vehicles, making the kind of the logistics of that, making sure everybody's on task and on time. I also go in the field and I do the, don't hate me. I'm not a big fan of doing anything computer related. I will go on site. I will go on site because I suck at it. I will go on site and I will hang TVs. I'll install sound systems. I'll do all the smart home stuff, all the cool little gadgets. And I just it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on. I really enjoy it. I get a lot out of it. There's a wow factor that's attached to it that now I'm sunsetting out of this business in the next couple of years here, and I'm having fun, and so I don't mind that I'm working in it, and I think it's okay to work in it as long as that's not prohibiting you from working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Sounds like both of you have done that. So the question I have, something that I started to do a long time ago, and I've kind of let it fall to the wayside because I didn't have staff, is I put together my book, my SOP of checklists and stuff. Now, some of the stuff we still use because the wife, when she's doing her stuff, all the, entering of the bills and putting together the invoices, we've templated some stuff for her. All the sales tax stuff, all that stuff that, I wanted to push off onto her is all listed together, and it's not in perfect book form. But have you guys put together those types of things that, like you mentioned, Tom, when an employee starts, you hand them the manual. Here's how you do stuff, learn it and go? Or how do you guys do that?
Yeah, we have some of that. And of course, we use IT Glue. So we kind of keep all those standard operating procedures in IT Glue on how to do things. Of course, pretty good size knowledge base. We recently moved from, well, I guess probably January, we moved from Repair Shopper as our PSA tool to Autotask. And so part of the reason we removed is, queues and some other help desk stuff, and dividing the business up a little bit, and automation. And part of that automation is it has project management in it. So trying to have a standard project form of, an Office 365 migration, or an onboarding of a client, or any kind of other project that we're deploying. We're doing a big project, 75 APs and big network across 4 or 5 buildings. So all that stuff we put together in a project. We can assign those tasks to different people to complete the task. So we're working on that. It's a little bit of work in progress in Autotask because we just started in January. And I know it's 7 months later, but it's a lot of work. So trying to get there 100%. So working on those processes so we can have basically a glorified checklist and people assigned to it. So
I think, like Jason, I have for the technical aspects of the business. I have, we call it our process Bible, and it's got everything in it and we use the worksheets in Repair Shopper as the checklist for the technicians going through the things, and then they hand it over and another person, does their part of it. But for the finance part, I was told years ago, and not just by one person, and I've heard it so many times, never give up the money, never let go of the money. I don't let go of the money. So as a result, I spend 2 hours every Wednesday morning doing money things, transferring money. I move money around, which I'd love to explain how I do that to help people getting started. But I move money around. I pay bills. I write checks. I make the deposit. In fact, my wife makes the deposit every week. I do that on Saturday. Put that all together, hand that to her. She does that on Monday to justify her hefty salary. But so from a financial perspective, Marvin, which is kind of what you were talking about with your wife, I'm not sure that I'd be willing to give that stuff away to a non-family member, because you just never know who's gonna.
I get that. So your wife does work with you in the business?
She does not.
Oh, she does not.
No,
but she makes the deposit.
She draws a salary, and her big job is to make the deposit every week and to give me marketing advice. So
Kim, if you're watching, stop.
No, she has a full-time job. Did you hear that part? Yeah.
I heard, but the fact that
well,
so
it's about retirement. It's about.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah.
All right. So you don't have. Now, you did say that you had somebody to help with the admin stuff and bookkeeping.
I have an admin. I do have a bookkeeper that I work with monthly to just, she logs into my QuickBooks Online and make sure that everything's cool. And if I ever have a problem, I just ask her. But I do it myself. I'm very efficient at it. I don't think 2 hours a week to me is not a big investment. I really get time to drill down and understand my financial statements, my balance sheet, my P&L. I really know what's going on. You can ask me any question, I'll tell you. I know the percentages, I know the amounts, and I want to keep it that way.
Okay. Aside from reports, because I'm big on the reports too, the P&L, the cash flow, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. How minute do you get? Are you talking, you still do all the invoices? You enter the bills?
No. All of the invoices, all the technicians do them. I mean, I will say that I have to pre-approve invoices before they go out for the field work and the project work. So the bigger stuff, because I want to make sure they're not missing anything. And plus, sometimes you got to, they forgot to add shipping, or they forgot to travel charge, or that kind of stuff. So unless it's a single hour where it was no muss, no fuss, I have to approve that invoicing. And that takes me, it's minutes a day. It's nothing.
That's similar, because she'll start the invoices, but very few go out that I don't see. Yeah, so there's only a couple that they don't change. So she can do that and go. But the bigger ones where we've got to go back and make sure we got all the time, we've got to make sure we got all the parts. Did we, charge the customer for shipping? I still review all of those.
Yeah, I mean, we're with Repair Shopper, we do the estimate, for a bench repair as an example. We'll do the estimate, and the shop manager's got to approve the estimate. And if the estimate goes through, and so then that's it, then you invoice it. So there doesn't have to be a secondary approval unless something gets added. But generally, we kind of stick to the script if we can. Okay.
So those are all pretty much job-based stuff. Yeah. Do you have customers that you invoice monthly where there may be?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that happens automatically in Repair Shopper.
Okay.
I see none of the invoices.
I was going to say, we know that, we know the Gestapo that runs your office.
Yeah. Hey, for a long time, I didn't even know what I made, like what I got paid personally. So sometimes I still question it. So
All
I
right.
mean, she writes the check for me and she deposits it in the account, and I never
Wait.
see it. So I mean, it works.
She
Dude,
writes it for
dude,
you.
are you
She
sure
signs
that-
it for you.
Well,
She
straight deposit,
deposits it
yeah.
for you. She
Oh,
spends it
man.
for you. Is that how it works?
Our agreement is I have a check card and a business credit card. As long as they swap, I'm good.
Wow.
So,
Are you sure she's not learning French on the side and then she's going to go take all your money and move to the south of France?
I hope not. But so nah, she's really good. I mean, we've been together. When was it Disney this past week? 16 years anniversary. 23 years together. So 16-year anniversary wedding in 23. We stayed for 7 years. But
Congrats.
yeah, thanks. But yeah, she does all that stuff, handles all the invoices. She pretty much keeps up with what's going on in the projects, harasses our technicians or managers, make sure everything's added. She'll ask me questions sometimes, because I quote the projects and stuff like that, and agree to certain things in billing. But her and our kind of bookkeeper also kind of do a lot of the auto task gets approved and post. So everything we bill at the last day of the month or the first of the month, depending on what it is. So all of our customers are pretty much just pay on a monthly basis for anything. So, and everything's prepaid. So if you're not getting prepaid for your services, make sure you're getting prepaid.
Yeah, man.
Everything prepaid?
Yeah, you get
IT services, Office 365, phone services, everything's pretty. Like if we do a project, like you want a server, you're paying for that before I ever order it. 100%. Any parts, if you want 3 computers, I'm paid for it before I order it.
So-
Sonic walls,
So
anything.
what do you do if like something goes over the time? So if you quote, 10 hours on a project, but it takes 20 because of unforeseen stuff, is there, a line in your quote that says, if we go over, we're billing you extra?
Well, we basically bill 100% of hardware. I quote the labor, and labor has a little,
Okay,
asterisk
all right.
there that says actual times billed. Most of the time, if I quote you 20 hours, even if it's 15, we're usually pretty close to the 20 hours. So, or, if we go over an hour, we may let it go. But if it's, we're over 10 hours because of crazy circumstances, we're definitely billing more. We let the customer know, of course, at that point, hey, we're going to be over because of this. So there's not a huge surprise. But yeah, 100% of all hardware is paid up front.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, we learned a long time ago, you don't want to be the bank. You
Yeah.
don't order stuff without them paying for it first.
Yep.
Otherwise, you end up with $100,000 in hardware out there, and people take 3 months to pay you, even though they're supposed to pay you that month, and then you end up in a bind. So
Yeah, the only challenge with that, and I do the same thing too. I used to do 50-50, and early on in the career, 30-30, 30-10. But so the 50-50, you can obviously you're not getting your profit until, and you're a lot of times you're not covering your costs, right? So if to roll something up and say, so you're not exposing what your labor is, to roll it in with the hardware and say, I'm going to give you 10 computers and it's going to be done in 2 days and that's going to be 10 grand. Then it's hard to say how much of it's hardware and how much of it's labor. So if you have to break it down, they're like, wow, you're charging me a lot of money for labor. So sometimes, like when I do some of the home jobs, I'll bundle it all together and I will not itemize it, because I don't want them to go to Amazon and try and find the thing cheaper. I don't ever want to have that discussion. So
exactly.
yeah. So it depends on the project. Like generally, if it's under $5,000, I won't even take a deposit if I know.
We do.
If I know.
Well, yeah, that's a little different, but yeah, we will. The only time we don't bill for is like if we had an ongoing relationship with a managed client and they're like, I just need a new computer for this person.
Right.
We'll just bill it at the end of the month. But I mean, if it's multiple computers that are getting a bill right then, pay for it online before then. We got a payment portal they can log into and pay. And like you're talking about projects, if you do like a large project, we take 75% up front. So we don't mess around on that. And sometimes people's like, you don't take 50%? No, 75. Sorry. So it's
Okay. Well, I've done for the most part 50% of the hardware, and I've done 100% of the hardware depending on the client. So if I think I'm going to have to worry about you, you're paying for all the hardware up front, and then I bill labor separate. And Tom, I don't. I tried to do that thing where I would roll it all together, but I've got some weird goofy people that, they want to know what the cost of the computer is and they want to know what the cost of the service is, because they actually will bill that in two different line items. My law firms, they will actually, they'll have an expense for, computer hardware.
Knows G&A or something. Yeah.
So it's interesting. All right. There is another question here, but I want to follow up with this. So in terms of, so we talked about processes, we talked about money, but what about, you guys, I don't know how fast you grew or, to what, growth you're going to continue to go to, but in terms of building an environment where you don't have to worry about staff coming and going and leaving and, bickering and all that stuff, what do you guys do to create an environment that, like in the quote I read before the show, that people want to stay, although you're teaching them as if they're going to leave?
Yeah, we try to do a bunch of things. So I'll try and rattle off the things that we do. So a lot of it is about the value, placing the proper value on the talent that we have here. So to me, it's not just salary, it's also benefits. So we pay 100% of their healthcare, which, a lot of people don't do that anymore. I think that's a very important thing. We give them a hefty number of days off. They earn 1 day off for every month that they work, plus they get 8 paid holidays. So they get 20 days off a year, which is not bad. I pay for lunches every Friday, and every other Friday it's kind of a lunch and learn where we have a vendor, kind of call in and do something, or one of the technicians will cross train and show somebody else something about Ubiquity or Sonic or Synology or whatever for the bench tech, so that they could become smarter. And then every other Wednesday, the non-lunch and learns, they go to a local deli, all the employees together. I want them out of the building together, and not me with them, just so they can talk about me. But they can go there on our nickel, and then the first Friday of every month, I bring breakfast in and we have a staff meeting and we talk about, I tell them things about what's going on. I don't tell them too much, but I tell them enough. I don't like to keep them in the dark. And I remember being in the dark and I didn't like it at other places that I worked. So just so they had an idea of kind of where the ship was headed, and how they could help. We also do, we call it one and done. It's kind of sporadic, but where we'll go across the street to the bar after work, and I'll buy a round of drinks for everybody. And what's pretty cool is that sometimes I'll leave and, I've done my one and I've paid it and I'm leaving and they're sticking around and they're going to have another one, which, I don't want them to have 5, but so that's always on a Friday. And, then we do like a couple other things. We'll do bowling things. We do a little boat ride on the river and, try to we did Top Golf, if you know what that is. You guys have that?
Yep.
I know you have it in Florida. So we do stuff like that to try and build a culture of, friendship or friendly, outside of here. Because this is a stressful job. Everybody that calls up is pissed. They're pissed because something's broken, or they're pissed because it's taken too long, or they're just pissed. So, we try and temper that with, and we stock the kitchen. So there's always stuff for them to nosh on, and there's always drinks and stuff in there. So there's a lot of things, and that we have the 401k plan and dental, and just all of these things that I think that are vitally important to convey the value that we want our employees to have.
Yeah, and we're kind of similar. I mean, we don't do 100%, but we do 70% of health, dental, vision. We do 3% company matching on retirement. We start people off with 2 weeks vacation, and then after 5 years, they get another week.
From day one, they get the 2 weeks?
Your day one, it's accrual basis. So
okay.
Every payday, you get a little bit of time. It's based on, how long, basically a fraction of the 40 hours every payday. But so it's accrual basis. We have a rule that they can't take a day off with vacation pay for 6 months, just so they need to be in there learning, training, all that stuff. We make exceptions, of course. We're not totally crazy. But we have a fun atmosphere. Like I said, our help desk, we took away the levels, just made it easier for everybody to learn and have a good time. If they have YouTube up, listening to music, they have Battle of the Bands and different stuff and different themes of music throughout the day. So, something to keep it kind of kicking. We have arcade machine. We have, usually a birthday lunch every month. We'll cater in full birthday lunch. We have one of our employees. He invites everybody to a barbecue at his house. So we go to his barbecue every year as a company. And then, of course, we have a Christmas party at our house every year. So Rachel cooks a big spread of ton of stuff. And, we all eat a Christmas dinner, usually beginning in December. So, and then we'll have, pizza here or there, some stuff like that. But I think one of the biggest values in the beginning, I lost a really good employee because we didn't have health insurance. So he went to a company that did have health insurance. So I think in the beginning, it's really hard as a one-man band to get health insurance. But there's all kinds of places out there that you can get health insurance at different levels and stuff. So at least offer something. We offer something with, co-pays because our employees don't like paying large, deductibles. So they want co-pays. So we did co-pays. But and it's decently priced. I mean, you can get insurance. I mean, usually your guy that provides your liability can provide health insurance. So works out. So if I had to say anything, start off with one benefit. We started with health insurance. And then, a year or two later, we added dental vision. Then we added retirement plan. So it's just kind of stepped over time as we grew. We added more stuff. And of course, they got paid holidays and stuff too. But we'd like to keep a fun atmosphere. My motto to everybody, and they know it, is we're all adults. You do what we expect of you, and we won't have no problems. But everybody's pretty chill, relax. Sometimes you have to step in, but I mean, for the most part, I expect you to do your job. You're an adult, do it. So,
do you do any bonuses, Jason?
Yeah. Usually at the Christmas party, we do bonuses.
What does that look like? A dollar amount? I mean, is it like a percentage of their pay or?
No, it's usually Rachel picks a amount, and and we've kind of been all over the place with like the amount and stuff. So, and it's like, is it fair for the new guy to get the same amount as a guy that's been here 7 years and stuff like that went back and forth. So now my wife kind of formulated, me and the accountant, like a formula to, if you've been here, you get more for the multiple years that you've been here. So the new guy's not getting as much as, the senior tech, so
we give out a week's pay. So if you're here longer, you're making more money. So your bonus will be bigger. But in the beginning, before I started doing that, although I might have been doing that from the beginning, because I always thought that it happened to me, and I always thought how cool that was, getting a Christmas bonus. I mean, nobody ever hears of that anymore, right? It's kind of a cool thing. Even if it's like $100, it's like a Christmas bonus. It's fun. But we did a profit sharing thing too, where as long as we hit our target, I'll take 5% of the net profit and I will divvy it up amongst the staff. And usually like the high level people, they'll get a bigger amount than the lower level people. And it's always in cash, and so as a result, well, they've come to expect it, which is what I didn't want.
Yeah.
I want it to be a bonus. It's a bonus, but you don't get it unless you work real hard. So they're like paying attention to profit and making sure that they add that travel charge and the shipping charge and all that other stuff. So we can, make sure that all the stuff that we make the most profit on is on every invoice.
Yeah. We kind of do like a random bonus. So like I've had a new tech start, and, it's like, they just amaze you. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy knows way more than I thought he did. And then I've walked up and, okay, you got $2,000 more a year because you're awesome. And then we've also done, it makes a big deal. They're like, oh wow.
Oh, hell
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like super surprised. And then I've done stuff like, we were gone on vacation, and, my lead engineer had a heck of a time, with all kinds of things falling apart, as it does in IT. And, worked tons of extra hours and weekends and all this stuff. And so, we threw quite a bit of money his way for holding down the fort while we're gone. Had a couple other instances where I've had people work on Saturdays outside the thing, and we'll just surprise them with, hey, here's $200,
Nice.
And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. I mean, you give somebody $100 and they're like, wow, cool.
I know.
So
I mean, especially if it's in cash.
Oh yeah, exactly. So
yeah. All right, guys. So I want to do something different. We've always already gone over. And in lieu of a post show, would you guys be willing to take a quick break and continue on and do a part 2? I know that, it's a little longer than we planned, but we've got some good discussion here. We've got people watching with questions. Is that okay that we do that, or do you want to wrap it up? And
I'm happy to keep going a little bit longer. I came back to the office because I didn't want to be at home to do this. Better lighting here. No
Okay.
logo hanging on my wall in my house.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening by audio, there will be a part 2. If you're watching, we're going to take a quick break. Don't run away. We will kind of throw up some musical interlude here and give us just a quick moment here to take a potty break, refill the water, all that sort of stuff. But we will be right back. You have been listening to Jason Miller with Unbound Digital and Tom Bull from Two River Computer on this continuing series of Summer Tech on Podnuts Pro. And if you're watching live, we will be right back. Oh my.
Hi, Rachel.
If you are listening to this audio, folks, you are listening to part 2 of the Summer Tech series with Jason Miller and Tom Bull. And we are doing this live, and we just came back after a short break, and Mrs. Miller was in the picture.
Yeah, she was
quite surprised.
Was she giving you a neck rub or something? What was that?
I mean, I didn't know we was still live. No, I'm just kidding. No, she come in here I was letting her know that we're going a second round here. So, and she brought of course, our wild dog coming here, jumping all over the place. So,
all right. So
I'm a diva.
You heard that, huh? You're my favorite diva.
your favorite diva?
Do what?
I said you're your favorite diva.
Yes. So here we are, folks. Part 2 with Jason and Tom, and we had a long first session. So if you are listening to the podcast out of order, you'll want to go back and catch part 1. We are talking about growing your business, the things to do and not to do, and how to keep your employees happy, automation systems, and all that good stuff. And so we are back now, continuing on. And guys, I want to say all of that stuff that we did in part 1 was fantastic. And before we continue on with a couple of things, I want to go back to the chat, and we had questions. Tom, this is something that you talked about early in part 1. Do you let your employees work part-time at Staples?
Yes, if I get sticky notes at a discount, absolutely. Because that's a big part of my system, by the way.
All right. And both of you talked about doing residential in the beginning, and we were both one-man shops. I myself was a one-man shop that at one time had techs, and this question did apply to me as well. But the question was, how do you handle those customers that only wanted you to help them when you first brought on staff? So if you had a staff person and they're like, no, we want you, how did you guys handle that?
That was definitely a problem in the beginning. Everybody wanted Jason. Is Jason here? The tech would be at the front counter. Is Jason here? Can he work on my computer? And finally, I just started hiding in the back. It's like, you go handle them, tell them I'm out, or something like that. And so just kind of get them used to another familiar face. Or if they called me on the phone and they were coming in for a repair job, or when I first got my first field tech, field engineer, whatever you want to call them. And going outside is like that whole trust thing. You built a relationship. It's kind of like, I don't want to deal with this other guy, to the customer, but you kind of had to prove to them and kind of talk them through, oh, he's great. He's going to be able to handle this. No problem. And then, of course, they go out and they're okay when the guy shows up and fixes the problem, but a lot of times it's just excuses. Like, even if I wasn't really busy, I'd be like, well, this guy's available right now. He can come fix your issue, but I'm tied up until, Thursday, and it's like Monday, so you kind of got to not really lie, but kind of push them a little bit to that next person. So, and now I still have people ask for me, but I don't work on anything anymore. So it's I do a little bit, but not much.
That's very similar. I would say that, I can give you Kevin, in 10 minutes, or Tom a week from Tuesday, and they would invariably take Kevin. But I tried this other tactic, and it works pretty well on the inbound calls. I'd like to talk to Tom. Oh, who is this? This is Betty. Oh, Betty. Tom told me to tell you that if you called, that I was supposed to take extra special care of you. How can I help you?
That's awesome.
So, and it doesn't matter who it is. That's what you're supposed to say to them. Tom said, if you were to call, I have to take extra special care of you. Oh, and that kind of changes things. And I had a compound problem because I put my face on everything in the beginning that, everybody thought it was Tom Bull Computer. And then I stopped taking I stopped putting my face on, and I continued to advertise and stuff, and, tried to then convert and make the brand be, the company and not the person.
Yep, that's good. I remember when I first brought a tech to one of my clients, and their question to me was, oh, are we too small for you? And I had to say, no. I just can't be everywhere at once. And so I need to have people to help me. And I tried to do the positioning that every tech I hired, we all have the same skill set. And I thought that would be a way to go, is that, we're going to hire techs that, any problem that you have, any tech here can solve. So you don't need to have me. And it didn't quite work.
Yeah. Well, one of the problems. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the problems I still have till this day is, people like a certain technician, just like they like me, and they'll basically email that technician directly because, they've emailed them something in the past, or they get their cell phone number and they'll text them directly. And I've instructed all of our guys, it's like they have to go through the proper channels. It states in our stuff, email support, call our main number, and that's pretty much it. So we go through those proper channels. And, so even if somebody emails me directly, I just respond back. I'm like, and they'll email me about a problem. Oh, I'll send this over to my guys. I'm not in the office right now. And so I forwarded this into support for you. So one of them will take care of you here in just a little bit. And I have my guys do the same thing. If they email them, they'll send in support. Now, the only problem I have is when they email one of our technicians, they're busy on site for 4 hours. And then the customer gets mad, like, you haven't responded. What's going on? Well, and they call into our help desk and they're like, well, we don't see a ticket for you. Well, I emailed so-and-so. Okay, well, we can't respond if you don't email us. We've got 10 people sitting here. It's like, we can solve this issue, for you 4 hours ago if you would have, emailed the support. And then after beating them up a few times, it seems like that kind of kicks in. So I tell our guys, just forward it in and just respond that, hey, we don't, I'm on site with the customer. It's going to be a while. So, call our help desk or email them.
So here's a question. And so I've tried to do it when I did have staff and then, my subcontractors, that when you set up the groups for responding to emails, that the customer never sees the technician's personal email.
Exactly.
And that way, when they respond, it has to go to the support queue.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if they do have it to where it goes to their personal email, their email still funnels to support somehow. So do you guys have systems at all like that? It sounds like, Jason, that you don't.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. We, our auto task, when it emails out as support at our domain.com. And basically, when they reply, it comes back to our ticketing system in the same ticket. So we try not to do that, but every once in a while, of course, you have to email an individual customer. And of course, I'm emailing customers all the time because I'm going back and forth on projects and notes and stuff. And then they just go, oh, I'm just going to email this guy every time. And then in our auto task, invoices come from invoices at our domain, and then quotes come from quotes at our domain. So inevitably, somebody just goes through their email, finds an invoice, and replies to it for support. Well, that goes to Rachel and our bookkeeper. So then they reply and say, hey, you're emailing invoices, we can assist you. And, I sent this over to our help desk. But we try not to ever, and that's some of the things our competitors do, is they, we want to make them aware of what they're doing wrong without saying, do this again. Like some of our competitors, they'll call. And I think of one right now in my head that drives me crazy. I was standing on their front doorstep. We're taking over a customer, had a hard drive or picking up a hard drive of a data dump from a cloud server. And I was on their front doorstep, knocking on the door. No one answers the phone. Calling them, pressing every button on their phone tree. No one answers the phone. Hit the button for support. Go online and do a ticket. Don't leave us a voicemail, pretty much. Okay. You call the salespeople. We'll leave a message. We'll call you back. I'm like, my gosh, you can't get a hold of this company. This is stupid. So, and then another company here local, the guy was on the phone, and I got a client off of this. My guy was installing phones, but they had another IT company. And they called to get into the Sonic wall they had with this other IT company. And the guy said, well, go online and fill out a ticket. And my technician turned to him and said, hey, what are you doing? He said, I'm filling out a ticket online. Weren't you just on the phone with them? He said, yeah, I was just on the phone with them. You told the guy the problem. I listened to you. Yeah. Oh, I get what you're saying. He's like, if you ever call us, you tell us the problem, we put the ticket in.
Sure.
We remote in and help you right then.
Sure.
So it's not a, customer service is a big thing in this industry. And I think sometimes people forget that. I mean, you're still helping customers. You can't be, there every moment of every day, but we still do a live answer in our help desk. So we don't fill out a ticket and call you back. We fill out a ticket and help you right then. And we've got a lot of our customers trained. If it's something that can wait, email us and we get to it as it comes. If you got a problem and you're sitting there suffering and you can't do your job, call me now and we'll remote in right now and fix it.
Yeah, it's crazy how customers, to me, if I've got a really serious problem, the last thing I'm thinking about is emailing somebody. I'm calling somebody. you have you got something down or whatever, don't email. Email's like hours before responses happen sometimes, right? So one of the things that drives me nuts, and I'm sure Jason, you probably see this too, is that you'll be dialoguing with a client, and like for me, it was like directly from my Outlook maybe, and then they've received ticket responses from the system, and then they go and they send it to both of us, right? They send the same thing, and it's like to everybody, every person that they know that's got a tworivercomputer.com, they just send it to everybody, and so it shows up everybody's inbox, and it's in a ticket, and then we have to delete the ticket because it's not really a ticket. It's like, hey, what time are you guys open on Saturday? Stupid thing. But I find that kind of frustrating. But the DID, where we can SMS and text from our our business phone has been a real godsend for the guys communicating with the customers, doing it that way. That seems to knock out a lot. They don't want to use their own cell phones. I don't want them to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
All right, so I'm looking at a couple of questions here, but I wanted to get back to the customer service. Now, Jason, you said that you do live answer. Tom, it sounds like you do live answer as well.
Well, I put a marketing thing in place. It's really subtle and stupid. Thank you for calling Two River Computer. If you're a contract customer, please press 1. If you're not, please press 2. Doesn't matter what you push. It's going to ring all the phones. But what I wanted it to do is, because people go, you sell contracts, which is the result that I wanted.
Okay.
So basically, yes, we live answer all the time.
Okay. Yeah. So we try to as well. And of course, if both of us are out, that's a problem. But we have actually gotten business because of the fact that we answered the phone.
Sure.
Because there are so many companies down here that do not answer. And there are attorneys that if they make a call and they hear an automated machine, they hang up. And then some of them actually still do it to me, where if they get my message machine, they hang up, and they'll just call back later because they want to get us on the phone, which is odd, but that happens.
Well, I've actually used it as our sales pitch too. So when I go meet with clients, a lot of times they're with one of our competitors that are terrible at answering the phone. So I've actually had, most people don't take me up on it, but I had one person take me up on it. But I'm like, if you need help, you call us and press 1 for business support, and somebody will live answer the phone. Of course, you don't have an account set up in our system, so they're going to ask you to set up an account, and then they can, as soon as you get that account set up, we'll remote in, and we have it automated for the account. We have a link on our website, and it automatically makes a new customer an auto task and all that good stuff, and they sign our DocuSign. But so we automate it as much as we can. But whenever I'm in the sales pitch, it's like, hey, we do an awesome job at answering the phone. I actually had one guy one time is like, well, if you call from your cell phone, of course they're going to answer your call. I said, no, call from your cell phone. Hey, pick up your phone. I'll tell you my number. You call. I'll sit here. I won't say a word. And he calls and of course presses 1. Hey, this is so-and-so, how can I help you? And, and gives our little spiel in the beginning. And of course he said, hey, I'm with so-and-so company. I just want to see if y'all can help me out. Sure, no problem. And he's like, let me look you up here. I don't see an account in our system. Let me get your account, so, and directed him how to do that. And he's okay, I'll fill that out, and hung up. And he's like, you're right, they do answer the phone. So I don't know if he called more, after I left or anything, but that's a huge deal. I mean, if you're in a business where you help customers, you have to have customer service. So,
yeah. I want to go back before we get too far along. David had asked in the chat, how do you find new technicians? We talked about how to keep them and make the atmosphere great for them, but how do you find other than Indeed?
I poach them from Geek Squad and Staples if I need a bench tech.
Right.
So, but I mean, Indeed, I learned about the filtering and the deal breakers and the tests that you can make them take, and the quality of the applicants I get there is really quite good. So I have an ongoing ad that runs there all the time. So I'm constantly getting resumes. Then I also use Craigslist quite a bit.
Oh, that's a naughty word, isn't it?
No. I've got the first 5 technicians I got were all off Craigslist, and they're all still here.
Sweet.
so, and it's been a year. One guy, he just had his 7-year anniversary. So,
all right.
so I found them there. then, but I mean, it's just that that's where, some of the nerds live. So that's where I went. And the only other thing, I mean, I do the Facebook thing, and, being entrenched in the local residential community, there's people that, know other people, and they want to, those local town groups. And there's also job opportunity groups and other things out there. I mean, you post it out there, obviously, Indeed, Facebook, and like I said, Craigslist's been a big one for me.
Yeah, usually Indeed for us. My wife usually posts all the job ads. We put them on our website. And then we do the test. So we make them take the proficiency test that's on there. So if they don't take the test, or they don't do the proper things when we send out, we'll actually have our admin Bonnie call, and we have instructed her on how to listen for different things. And so she'll listen for like, oh my gosh, that guy's so rude, or hey, that guy just couldn't talk, because they're, again, customer service, you have to be able to talk. Sometimes technicians are those backroom technicians, and that's no problem if you work for a big company. But for us, you have to talk a lot on the phone. So I need somebody that can talk, and nothing against anybody, but we listen to how they talk when they call in. We tell them, hey, Tuesday at 2:00. Okay, cool. And if they ask for us to send them an email for directions or send them any information, they're not somebody I'm hiring.
Right.
You're a technician. You should know how to get to my place. There's Google. It's not hard to find us. If I have to send you the time in the email, that means you have to be handheld. I don't want you. So like little key indicators like that. We've kind of found out over the years to kind of listen to those things. Helps out a lot. And our admin Bonnie, when she calls, she'll put a big X on their thing and say we're not. We'll still bring them in for the interview because we've already told them, but you know right away that they're not going to be able to make it. So,
the one thing that you can't teach, I don't think successfully, you can't teach personality or good phone. I mean, you can teach people to be polite but you can't teach them to be engaging, right? So, and you can't teach them to be like a good listener, because sometimes in this job, as you guys may know already, I'm not the only one that feels this, is like, I swear I'm a part-time psychologist sometimes, depending on the type of problem that they're having. So you have to be compassionate, you have to be empathetic, you have to be sympathetic, you have to be a good communicator. So I can teach somebody to be a technician. I can't teach somebody to be empathetic or conversational or any of these other things. So I've picked up people that work in retail, and I've had them just to try them out. One worked for the summer and then went back to college, and keeps coming back here. But I think that it's okay to train people. Don't expect to get somebody hit the ground running. I'd rather teach them my way maybe than try and correct a bad thing that they learned.
Do you guys ever listen in on your technicians when they're doing their remote calls?
No.
So I wouldn't say listen in as far as like, listen, like doing a whisper thing where you can actually hear people while they're calling. But I have our help desk guy. He does go back and listen to call recordings every once in a while. So he'll just randomly pick, 4 or 5 a week, listen to those, and kind of make sure everything's, for different texts, make sure everything sounds good. And then, of course, I do listen to call recordings, because just the other day I had somebody as a he said, she said situation with somebody's mad about something, a customer, of course. So I had to go back and listen to the call recording. And, of course, they were wrong. So I had to, in a nice, polite way, tell them that they were wrong, but without saying you're wrong right out. But, things like that happen. And I've had the opposite. I've had this tech with us, and she swore she told this customer this and is all mad about it, and the customer's upset, and she didn't tell the customer what she said that she told him. So I made her call him back and apologize to him and tell him we'd take care of the issue. And I could have swore I said that, but I obviously didn't. I listened to the call recording. You're right, Mr. Customer. So I mean, that goes a long way too with a customer if that person calls them back. So, but no, I never listen in. So.
Okay,
I'll call the customer like randomly, especially a new customer. Hey, I'm the owner. I know you just called in, and I see that you had a ticket and you paid for it. How'd it go? was the technician polite? Were they proficient? Were they, what can you tell me? Do you mind sharing your experience? And people are always willing to talk. Very rarely do you get somebody that shuts you down. But especially when, if I've been the one that's been going to this place time and time again, and then I send somebody else there, I got to follow up. How'd it go? So really important to keep that communication open with your client.
Yeah,
Well, that's especially important when you send somebody for the first time. Not only how did they do, but what was the customer's impression?
Sure.
Yeah, we do that a lot with the technicians. I mean, being management, I'm in what's going on in the business a lot. So if I know there's a new customer we're onboarding, I'm asking the technicians how did it go, all that good stuff. Part of our onboarding process is now I show up. Used to I didn't show up to every onboarding because it's just too crazy. But now I've made it a point to, hey, I'm the owner of the company. I'm going to show up. We bring donuts, coffee. Hey, sorry, we're going to have to kick you off your computers, 20, 30 minutes. Here's some donuts, coffee, take a break. We'll take care of all this stuff. So we're trying to make our onboarding a little bit more personal. We introduce ourselves, all of our technicians before we ever even start work, so, hey, gather all your staff around. I just want to introduce you to everybody real quick. And that's only come about in probably the past year. So, I mean, it's really seems to be making a positive impact. I mean, people feel like they're cared about. It's not just a technician coming in, hey, let's get started, so it's kind of taking that more touchy-feely type route. And then two, everybody loves donuts and coffee. So, so it makes them, it's kind of like a little nice surprise, especially when, none of your competitors do this stuff. So it kind of, one-ups them. So.
Yeah, very rarely will I send a technician out without going out with me first. We are in the process of, like, the Vanessa, who's going to be joining us in Chicago. I've been bringing her out to all the jobs that I can when I go out for some of my in-home things. So she gets how it's done and who the people are. And so then it's real easy. Oh yeah, Vanessa, you were here. And it's really rare to have women technicians. We have two, and they're both great. But whether it's male or female, I always like to do that personal handoff. And in the beginning, when I land the customer and, I have that initial meeting with them and the proposal and the money, and then I go to be my GC, where I put my GC hat on and I go there and I'll help the guys unload, and I'll go, okay, here's the map. Here's the, we reviewed the plan already. Here's this, this, and this. And here, Mr. Customer, this is Bob. You're never going to see me again. This is Bob. Say hi to Bob. So, it kind of goes like that, and that works for me. But I love that you go to every onboarding, Jason. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it didn't used to, but now I've kind of trying to step that up and have a little better.
I think that's cool.
Better feel.
So speaking of onboarding and project type stuff, I'll do this question that was brought up in the chat, and then we'll move on to something similar. But the question is, when you do larger projects or installs, do you have a total that's too high to take a credit card payment? And the way that I would translate that question is, do you ever get nervous about a customer who does a big order and may not be able to pay?
I've never had an issue with taking a credit card, or we do ACH as well. And I have been burnt in the past. I'm not going to say I haven't been, but that's usually because we didn't get payment up front in the past. But as far as like taking a credit card, I mean, there's fees associated with taking cards. We charge those fees to the customer. Since we pretty much all business now, if you want to pay with the credit card, you're going to pay the fee, because I'm not losing profits because you want to use your Sky Miles card or whatever. So, or you can pay ACH and there's no fees, or check. But we haven't really had a problem with that. Of course, we do sign, master service agreement and statement of work. And, you have signed paperwork along with a signed quote. If you had to go to court, you would have a pretty good leg to stand on as far as, suing them. I have had to sue a couple of clients in the past that didn't want to pay up. And it's kind of funny. They get the letter from the lawyer and they're willing to pay pretty quick. So a lot of times you don't have to go to court. But I've only had probably 3 or 4 people like that over the years, 20 some years. So it's not a very, often thing. So But yeah, I mean, if you had all the paperwork, I don't think it's a big deal. If you have a bad feeling, gut feeling about something, then you shouldn't probably be doing it. So I would back off any client that's kind of giving you the, the gut feeling to, that they may not be able to pay or something like that, or they may do a charge back. So
I took that question to mean, and I'm not sure you're misinterpreting it, but what I read out of that was, if it's a high enough amount, are you willing to take the hit for the credit card? So
For the
I just
percentage.
pulled it up real fast. For last year, we paid $27,000 in credit card fees, and we didn't charge for it. We don't, and that's changing because I've been looking at that number, and I never said, oh, you want to pay with a credit card, you're gonna have to pay me an extra 3%. My philosophy was, I'm gonna raise prices 4%. 5% or whatever, and I'm just going to build it in, and I'm not going to nickel and dime the customer, right? So that's kind of been my philosophy all along. Same thing with shipping. There's some vendors where they're not Amazon, where you're getting free shipping, you get charged for the shipping. We mark the shipping up, but sometimes it's like we're going to include the shipping, and we're just going to do an overall price increase. So I think there's a couple ways to handle it. I'm going away. I don't want it, like any of our monthly recurring. I'm going to get off of credit card and put it all on ACH as soon as Repair Shopper gets their act together.
Yeah, we use Connect Booster integrated with Autotask and QuickBooks, and it has an automated thing in there. You can put in what percentage you want. So we put in the percentage, and then when the customer goes to pay in our online portal, it automatically says there's a, if you want to pay with card, it says you have to pay this percentage. If you like to pay with ACH, there's a, that percentage cash discount. And on the bottom of all our invoices, it says this invoice already includes a cash discount. If you wish to pay with a credit card,
Right.
There's going to be an additional fee.
Right.
So,
I've seen that.
You don't get the discount.
Verbiage. I've seen that verbiage before, where
Yeah.
it says there's a cash discount included.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we do it. But we got tired of paying the fees because we're
Yeah.
like you paying a lot of money in fees. So and it kills you when somebody pays you. You got a large project and it's like, oh, here's my American Express for all this stuff, and you're like, oh, that's only $4,000 in credit card fees right there. And you're like, oh, so yeah, I don't like that. So.
Yeah.
Well, I was just looking at mine. Mine was a lot as well, 11,000. But I don't discount for those clients. I use my philosophy that millionaires don't get discounts. Now, granted, they're not all millionaires, but if they're going to ask for a discount and want to pay by credit card, that's a double hit for us.
Sure.
So,
yeah, we don't do discounts either. And the cash discount fee is technically the fee I would be upcharging anyway. So they're not getting a discount off of it. It just says, I think the verbiage is because of the credit card companies. You're not allowed to charge a fee to take a credit card. So you're not charging a fee. You're giving a cash discount, but you're not really changing your price. So,
we can call it a convenience fee, right?
No,
what Ticketmaster does, right?
I think that's different. That's a convenience fee for using their service, not for using a card. But yeah. So,
all right. So let's shift a little bit and talk about setting yourself up for growth. And I'll first start by asking and Tom, you kind of alluded to the fact that you didn't really follow your plan. So the question is, did you adjust for the plan, or did you just follow it and just, grow by osmosis, or are you putting together steps in terms of growth?
It's so funny because when I go back and look at the plan, which took me forever to create the business plan, even with that cheesy software, but and then I, like you're supposed to, I stayed on top of it and I changed it, and I realized we were just going off the rails. What I decided is that I was going to be content with double-digit growth in both in all three categories, in revenue, gross profit, and net profit year over year. And I wasn't going to be happy unless that happened. So I'm like really focused on I made a mistake one year of being focused on revenue and not profit, because I wanted to hit a number. There was like it was close to like a $500,000 or something, and I just really wanted to get it. And I pushed and pushed and pushed, and my net profit suffered. And I made my adjustments, but it's kind of like a little bit on the fly. But I don't have anything more than the end game. So the end game is to either split my businesses, my break fix from my managed, and sell off the managed, and continue to let the break fix pay me, or sell them both, or sell them together. But so I have a timeline for that, and it's 3 years from now. So if I'm done by then, I don't give a crap how I got there, to be honest with you. So as long as I'm profitable and making money, I'm not really looking at. I have targets, and I have one of those goofy little thermometers, like when you're trying to raise money for the school dance. I have one of those, and I keep it updated so the staff can see where we are, and if we're hitting our targets, so that, because that applies to their bonuses. So it's an important metric for them to be aware of. But I don't have any like landmarks that I need to hit, or things that I need to hit. I just have the beach in sight,
All right. Jason?
Yeah. I'm still too young to quit. So I'm still, so no, I'm one of those guys. I love what I do. So just keep going. Told my wife I'm probably going to be like 95, still working on computers and stuff. So not really, but no, I plan on retiring one day and just letting somebody else run it. But yeah, I like what I do. I plan on doing this for at least another 10 years, maybe a little more, and then letting somebody take over the business and run it and pay me, and then kind of retire and travel. So that's kind of our end game, I guess you'd say. But right now we're still in growth mode, so we're still growing the business. I tell my wife we like insanity, so we like to keep adding things. We're getting ready to add a website design vision to our company, and talks with a local guy to buy his business that I've known for a long time. And so we may be adding web design, so another stream of revenue, so bring in more money.
As long as you're maintaining your profit margins, the revenue, the profit's the name of the game, right? So if I could make less revenue and more profit, I would totally do that. And there's ways to do that, right? So yeah, as long as you're making money, it doesn't matter. You don't always have to keep pushing that revenue bar up higher, though, for growth.
Exactly.
So are you managing or looking at and examining those KPIs in terms of margin and cash flow?
Yeah,
because that's what I'm going through right now. Is I'm readjusting all of my charges and all of my fees to make sure that everything hits a certain margin, regardless of what it is. So even if it's recovering my shipping cost or covering my RMM cost, that there's a margin that is not only built in, that it is calculable as things scale. And I also have a component now that I'm looking at in terms of we call it vendor income. So it's all of that stuff that I get from, Freedom Voice, as long as they're around, GoDaddy, my Intermedia, all of that income that it's not necessarily tied to a service, but it's tied to my, products that I resell. That's all part of what we do as well. And there's indexes based on that. So are you guys that involved in looking? And I know, Jason, your eyes are glazing over, but but in terms of looking at that, Tom, when you talk about, double digits for all three, how are you managing that?
So if I've been in it long enough to know where I feel like the margins work. And there was that point in the mid 90s when I remember very distinctly going to distributor and buying an HP LaserJet 3, for those of you that go back that far. And it was like $1,200 or something, whatever it was. And there was some dude in New York City selling it for $1,250. And I was like, uh-oh. So when you realize that you couldn't mark up the hardware 30, 35%, 40%, a lot of times we were doing back then it was, it was going to be a losing proposition. So from very early on, I established our profit margins, minimum of 30% on any product that passes through the door. If we buy it and resell it, we calculate gross profit when we take the revenue from that plus the revenue from the services, which I always calculate at 50%. So whether I'm selling something for $100 an hour or $1,000 for the project, I put the cost at 50%. And so I'll look at the job costing on individual projects. If they're usually over $5,000, I'll kind of keep track of them. But overall, it's kind of like this is a silly way to look at it, but if you're Donald Trump, maybe a bad example, but a real estate tycoon, and you've got your revenue exceeds your expenses, then you're doing okay. So you can look at that and see what percentage that is left over, and that's kind of how I manage that. I always want to have a certain percentage of gross profit and net profit at the end of the day.
Jason, you want to even try?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Rachel handles a lot of this. But,
we all knew that.
So numbers and stuff. I mean, we still have, every once in a while meet. We used to have a weekly meeting, and then I was a slacker and didn't make it to the weekly meeting all the time because I was so busy. But so yeah, she'll give me a hard time. But either way, she keeps me updated on things. We do go over profit and loss every once in a while, make sure we're on track. And if we're not on track, I know about it real quick. If there's, any kind of cash flow issues with the customer not paying, like we had a customer 3 months behind on their IT services the other day, and they're technically 2, a few days away from being 3. So having to call and threaten to cut them off and stuff like that, and so if there's anything going on major, I know about it. But typically we like to, there's a difference between markup and margin. But as far as markup, we usually mark up our products if it's under $100, typically 100%. And then because usually a $20 widget isn't worth selling at, just a little bit of money. So we, that $20 widget can be a $40 widget and the customer doesn't care. And we have a sliding scale. So it kind of goes 100% and 75, then 50. And then, computers, some printers, stuff like that, you can't mark up 100% or they kill you. Yeah. So we try. Our goal is to make, $150 on a computer if we can, but no less than $100. So we kind of have like things set there to kind of make money. I don't care if most of our customers don't shop Amazon, which I have had past customers that have, but here recently it's not a big deal. We're a Dell partner, so we get it for a little bit less than what's on the website. So by the time you mark it up and make some money, it's not too bad. But we try and make decent amount of money on stuff without, I guess, killing them, but we got to make money to keep the business going. And one thing that kind of popped to you talking about shipping and stuff there recently, we've been in this business a long time and you still learn things every day. So this one customer of ours, they have like 50 employees all over the country and we're shipping laptops left and right. And, it's like $25 to ship a laptop. So my admin was like, oh, there's like add $25 to the ticket. And the other day, me and my wife was talking. It's like, well, we're using our packaging materials, we're using our tape, we're taking our time, we're having to drive it to UPS store. So this is stupid. Why are we charging $25 for shipping? So then you kind of start thinking about things, that like I'm losing money on shipping your computer. This is stupid. So we was talking the other day about we're going to start charging more when I have to ship your computer. You have a handling fee now that we're going to charge on top of the shipping. And then, if we have to drive it across town to UPS or something, and we've talked about charging, half-hour labor or something because it's taking our admin's time to drive across town. So, I mean, we need to charge for that time, make some money on this because we're being your, UPS guy, basically, you know what I'm saying? So,
yep, I've done that. That's because, Kim, this is sad. We have 2 UPS stores. That's so the original store is where I started the business. It was a mailboxes, etc. That was my legal address for so long. And in all of the moving, we're now so far away from that store that it's literally 45 minutes for her to go pick up our mail.
Oh, wow.
So I said, we got to get one closer. And of course, we've got a mailbox here, but it's long story. So we charge if she's got to go drop it off, an admin fee. Or we included, let's see, if we do UPS, it'll say UPS ground shipping and handling, or we're actually just going to go shipping and handling and not even say whether it's UPS or FedEx anymore, because we don't want the customers trying to figure out how much it is. But now I know, Jason, you go through distributors for your stuff.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've been dealing with is some of my clients have been approached by CDW to open accounts with them. And normally what I would do is I don't always go by margin when I resell my computers. I go by what CDW has, and that's the price I put, so that customers understand, yeah, you're not going to, get retail, but you're not going to get the cheapest either. So now it's a matter of them going to CDW and seeing, hey, is Marvin overcharging? Tom, what do you do for your hardware? Do you go through distributors, or are you still running a Staples?
I definitely use distributors, certainly for my Wi-Fi stuff and my AV stuff. But I've been using Best Buy for some stuff if I have to, because I'm tax exempt there. I've used Costco for some stuff, depending on what it is.
Their business, under their business accounts?
Yeah. Okay. I do that all the time. The shipping is often better. I buy a lot of stuff from B&H Photo in New York. They've got great prices.
They have come a long way in competing with IT stuff.
Oh, yeah. They're good. They're good on, like hard drives and stuff like that. Not so good on the Ubiquity stuff. But, so I pick and choose. But I want to just, for a second, if I can just talk about markup and margin. I want to give you guys a great example of this. And this is really good for the listeners who are paying attention to this. That if I ask somebody to tell me how to make 30% on $100, they would tell you they should sell it for $130. And that's how they would make their 30%. And that's markup. That's a 30% markup on $100. But a 30% margin for something that costs $100, you sell it for $143, because 30% of 143 is the $43, and that leaves you back with the $100 that you spent on the item. So people get that confused all the time, and I use that example a lot with my kids when I was explaining to them the difference between markup and margin. So we run on profit margin, not on profit markup. So anyway, but
I do as well. And a good example is I have a Texas Instruments BA35 calculator that has cost, margin, and sell.
Love it.
As part of its function.
Oh, that's great.
This thing sits on my desk.
That makes it easy. We had to teach them to do a 30% margin is they take $100 and divide it by 0.7. And people go, what? I know it's a little bit of algebra. You got to go back to 8th grade, but that's how you get your 30% from not your markup. So,
all right.
But to answer your question, I do a blend. I buy a lot of stuff from Amazon, little stuff from Amazon all the time.
I buy through Amazon if I have to get it, and I can't get it any faster through distributors. But I still, so D&H is now my number one distributor. It overtook Tech Data, and Cynix is third, Ingram Micro fourth.
Yeah, and one kind of pro tip I would say that saved me a lot of time over the years. I remember, I don't know, it's probably been 5-6 years ago. Talking about trying to do quotes and stuff like that kind of goes right along with this. I spent like 6 hours doing a quote, and I was sitting there complaining. I was like, man, I spent 6 hours a day doing this quote, and it's ridiculous trying to look up all these products at these different vendors and all this stuff. And it's just not really. It takes up a lot of time, and then how do you get that money back of all your labor? And so you're spending a lot of time doing quotes, then, in my mind, we're doing something wrong. So it takes time to do quotes, but if you're spending tons of time, there's a lot of quicker ways to do those quotes. So like when we do big projects, you know how many switches you're going to use and APs and all this stuff. So we have like a little Excel sheet that we can just go down through there and type it all in and calculate it up real quick on quantities and stuff like that. And I mean, I'll do stuff like on the Excel spreadsheet, like, oh, I got, I'm gonna have some bolts and screws, $100. I'm gonna do this, $250. I mean, so you can real quickly do that quote and get it out the door. Sometimes I think we worry about getting exactly that right price. And so one of my buddies was like, if you're spending more than an hour to do that quote, that's crazy, man. So, and I've started learning over the time that you have to lean on your vendors. So I don't ever go look up a computer price. I don't go to a distributor and search through and all that stuff. You spend 30, 45 minutes doing that. I've got a Dell rep. I shoot an email. I need a Optiplex i5, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD, NVIDIA, whatever graphics card. 30 minutes later, I have an email back. This is the computer with the price. Copy, paste, here it is in my quote, send it to customer. Yep. So I spent all of 2 minutes sending the email and 5 minutes typing it in a quote. I do the same thing with like double radius streak wave on Ubiquity gear. And of course, we have inventory items for all the normal stuff we use. If we're doing like a large project, they'll give you a huge discount if you, instead of just going and buying the products, if you're buying a bunch of APs or switches, it's an email, need 75 APs, 15 switches, blah, blah, blah. Give me your best price, send it to 2 vendors, whoever gets the best price wins, so then you still charge normal price, even though you're getting down there in the price. But I guess what I'm trying to say is lean on your vendors, shoot those emails. We do some audiovisual stuff, projectors and things like that, media setup, streaming systems, conference room systems. So I just shoot the guy, hey, I need 6 speakers to go in the ceiling, need this TV, need this projector. And then, he's usually a little bit slower. So a few hours later, I have it back, fill it out, send it. I mean, so it saves you so much time and you can be making money on that time instead of wasting your time going through 15 vendors trying to figure it out. So, I mean, and it's not always about the best price. I know some techs, they used to look at 15 websites to try and get the very best price for their customer. You're wasting your time. I mean, look up a computer. This is what it costs.
There used to be a tool. There used to, for those of you who've been doing this a long time, do you remember Maricel?
Mm-mm.
So Maricel, I don't know who they came into, but back then it was Maricel and Tech Data, and then I don't know, Ingram maybe. I can't remember. This is back in the early 90s when I first started doing this. And somebody came out with a tool that had taken their databases and all mushed it together, and you put in what you were looking for, and it would tell you where it was cheapest.
So yeah, there's a couple of tools. I know that the HP iQuote tool that I use because I do HP now has it to where it will tell you which vendors have it in stock even when you're going through the quote. So I go there when I need to do my server quotes or anything like that. And if I need to do anything other than that, I do like Jason. I just send everything to Tech Data and say, hey, I got this deal going, put together a thing for me, and they send it back.
We used to be able to download Tech Data's thing into our accounting system back when it was under 1 million SKUs.
Yeah, I didn't do that, and I didn't want to keep up with it.
Yeah.
Well, even like our managed service proposal, I can literally do a managed IT services proposal in probably 5 minutes.
Yeah, same.
We have a proposal software, and it's already got all the fluff and all our cybersecurity and this and that, and our pitches of our team and really fancy proposal. And it's got a couple pages in there. So literally, I've got like 20 fields I fill out with numbers. It calculates it, send to customer, done. I mean, this stuff is easy to price out. You figure out what your onboarding is going to be, type it in, your monthly fee, type it in. You're pretty much done. So same thing with VoIP quotes, do the same thing, download the quote from the quote tool, upload it in our proposal software, got all the fancy stuff all over it, send, done. So do a phone quote in probably 5 minutes too.
So one thing you guys both have kind of alluded to that I want to emphasize is if your customers are the right customers for you and they trust you, they're not going to worry about price as much as we worry about price.
Right.
Yeah.
I just won a cable job and a camera job because my customer trusted me. I don't do cameras and I don't do cable, but they trust that the guy that I'm going to have to do the cable is going to do it right, because one of the estimates that they were getting, the guy came in, he was all, aloof and wasn't all there. And they weren't sure, but he's like, oh, I don't know, I'll have to, and they were like, look, let's just call Marvin. He'll do it. He'll get it the right people to do it. And I mean, my quote was probably 20% higher.
Mhm.
And I told him, I'm not going to try to compete. This is the deal. You want us to do it. Here's what it is. And they asked about one question about, well, can you take over the existing camera system? I said, sure. And they're like, all right, do it all. So now we've got, it's a $3,000 project. It's basically a new office space. So cabling, cameras, and new computers. I got the whole job.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, all right. Now I know we went all over the place and we started asking questions, and I don't know if you guys brought any more things on your own.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I didn't realize that I was doing some variant of profit first when I started doing this, and then I read the book and I went,
Mike Michalowicz.
Yeah, pumpkin plan guy. And so what I had been doing from the very beginning, I opened 2 accounts. And so I had a checking account and I had a money market account, and the checking account was all my operating stuff. And what I would do is, this is the way I paid myself in the beginning. I said to myself, how much money would I feel comfortable having? It's just me. How much money would I feel comfortable having in the bank? And the answer was $10,000. So after I paid everything, if I had 10,000 in there, I'd feel like I'd be okay. So what I would do is every 2 weeks, I would look at the bank account, and whatever was over $10,000, that's what I paid myself. Sometimes it was 1,000, sometimes it was 15,000, sometimes it was 7, whatever it was, over 10,000, I would pay myself. And that's how I got started. I felt that I needed that cushion to be in there to help me sleep and focus and stuff. So that's a tip that I've given to a bunch of people just getting started. And then the other one is with the 2 accounts. So when every Saturday, I would do my banking, and I would, back before people were paying us credit cards, and I would take all the checks and I would go to the bank, and they'd give me the receipt and say, okay, you just deposited $10,000 in checks. I'd go back to my office on Monday with the receipt, and I would sweep 20 of it. I would do an online transfer of 20% of it into the money market account. And I'd do that every week. And then when the sales tax was due, I paid it out of the money market account. When I was writing my retirement check, I would pay it out of the money market account. Because I'm an LLC, so we had quarterly estimated taxes, right? When those came due, I swept it out of the money market account. So at the end of the year, I had plenty of money to pay all those things as we went. And there was always money left over. And I was left with a choice that, I could roll it back into the business, or I could give it to myself as a bonus. And every year except one, I rolled it back into the business. And the key thing here is that when you looked at the money in the operating account, you could spend every penny of it because you knew you had your taxes covered. You'd be able to spend it because you knew. So this is the beginning, right? It's just you. So you knew you could spend it, because so many people get in trouble with the payroll taxes or whatever. But if you do the sweep, and 20% seems to be the magic number, you can probably get away with 17.5, at least in my scenario, if I'm playing it thin. But I'd always have that left over. And what I've morphed into today is I want my operating account to have that set amount of money in it. And if there's anything above that, I feel like I'm not using it right. So I have an account for payroll. I have an account for my reserves, which is my savings account, my business savings account. And I have my money market account. And every week, I transfer money into the payroll account. I transfer money into the money market account for my taxes, my 20%. And I transfer money into my business savings account every week. And so it's really easy to manage when you do it weekly like that. And if there's money left over, I'm not using it right. Either I need to put more away in reserves. I can use that money to buy equipment. I can use it to get bonuses. I could do all kinds of things with it. But this way, for me, it's an easy way to manage it by putting it in buckets like that.
All right. So first question is, how did you decide on the 20%?
I just picked it.
Okay.
I picked it and it kind of worked. And then I only really looked at it last year, and I was like, how much do I really need? And it's like 17.5. So I've been trying that this year, and there's 20 grand sitting in it right now. I don't owe anybody anything right now, and I don't have to pay anything until October, except for the state sales tax and funding my retirement. So I just keep using that. It's a great thing.
Now, did you make a concerted effort to pay everything as soon as possible, or
Yes.
do you hold bills until
No.
their due date?
No, with the bill pay, it's so easy to just, pay it the day before it's due. So when I get the bill, I put it in right away, and I don't necessarily pay it right away. So I look at every week, I look at cash in the bank, what's pending. So that's the stuff that's sitting in WorldPay waiting to go into my bank, cash that I have on hand in my accounts receivable. And I'm looking at that as my total working capital of what I have to work with. And for a week, I do it in a week. I don't do it in a month. I don't do it in a quarter. I do it in a week. It's easy to digest it, and it's really easy to manage it, because if you got to come up with, $20,000 in payroll every 2 weeks, it's a lot easier to do $10,000 a week sometimes than to, look for that big $20,000 nut, or whatever the case may be. So I find that doing it weekly is a more digestible, and it's just a lot easier. And if you find yourself going off the rails, you can correct a lot quicker if you're doing it weekly.
Yeah, I know Rachel does something similar to that, but instead of having a bunch of accounts, she does it with virtual accounts inside QuickBooks to move money around.
Sure.
And then anytime that we have a large project, as soon as we're paid for that 100% hardware, whatever it is up front, or 75%, she puts that in a separate account, and it sits there till the project's done or till we start getting the bills for the project. And she pays that way. If you got a $50,000 project, you've got money to pay that, your bills to Dell or to your vendors or whatever. So that money for that project isn't put back into the business and spent, as part of your cash flow or whatever. It's put to the side till the project's done, things are paid, money's moved into our account. So, but she could tell you way more about that stuff.
Well, it's good budgeting. It's like back in the day when you had envelopes with cash in them. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is for groceries, this is for gas, this is for beer, and rent. And when you ran out, you ran out. And if you had the money in there, then when the time came, you could take it out. So I really like that idea. It's too much for me to manage, so that's why I just do it by the account. If it's in there and it's more than X amount, I know that I'm not using my money right.
All right. Sounds like we could do a whole show on money stuff and bring the diva in.
Oh God! Don't, Marvin,
I've got
get me in trouble with that.
Tom started it.
She's already mad at me about it.
She's not mad.
No, she's not mad. No,
she likes being called the diva, I think.
There you go. Something.
She's the queen for sure.
All right. Jason, did you have anything that you brought that we didn't cover that you want to make sure we get to?
I don't know. Think about it if you want to go into IT really well. So one of my texts this past week, he's like, "Why are we in IT? Everybody calls you with all their problems. They're always mad. They're always pissed off. They're cussing you, and they don't care. They don't thank you when you fix it. It's like, why am I in this thankless job?" And I was like, "I get you, man. I get you." So yeah, it's one of those jobs, and my wife's even complained about it. I'm pretty laid back, easygoing, so people will be mad at me. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I just let it go. But it drives her crazy a little bit. People get mad at us and write us bad emails, and I always get copied on the email plus the support ticket if something's not going right. So it's like, oh, I copied. I guess I gotta go call these people and make them happy. All that stuff. So
I don't know that it's necessarily IT anymore. It's the world as a whole is just, people really expect a lot for a little.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the radio show that I listen to in the morning, they've had a whole segment for the last couple of weeks about the restaurant industry as they're, trying to recover, as the COVID reopening happens. everybody that was cooped up and is, now going out to eat and everything. Well, the restaurants, they don't have enough staff.
Mm-mm.
And, the people that are trying to go out to eat are yelling and bitching at these people that they're not doing stuff. And it's like, wait a minute,
It's terrible.
we're understaffed.
Yep.
You don't tip us well. We're not getting, and we're out here trying our best. Why are you yelling at us?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a big thing down here. And I think it's a lot of industries, anything that is service based. For some reason, recently, people have just gotten nuts. All the stuff that, should, I'm trying to make sure I say this and be politically correct because I don't piss anybody off. But things that should be appreciated aren't being appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't being appreciated. And that's what we've got to work on.
Exactly.
All right. Before we get on the soapbox, Florida man, a random question. You guys probably forgot about that since we're in part 2.
No,
I have a New Jersey man question.
You do?
Or yeah, I do. I have a story.
I have a Tennessee man one too, ready to go.
Beautiful. All right. As we transition, folks, to
New Jersey man is breaking into a house, and he's on the second story, and the people below realize that he's down there, so they call the cops, and they go, "Hey, jackass, we called the cops. Get out of my house." They know he's in there, so he goes out the window, gets down on the roof of the garage, jumps down, and calls himself or sets up a Lyft pickup, and puts in an address and heads on over there. And as he's getting there, there's a car pulling up, so he hops in the back, and it happened to be an unmarked police car that was heading towards the burglary call, and he just kind of captured himself.
Nice. Okay. Jersey man surrenders himself.
Yeah.
Back of cop car.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Miller. Tennessee man.
Tennessee man died from heart attack after swatting over Twitter handle. So Tennessee, there's a 60-year-old. Yeah, he got swatted.
Wow.
So 60-year-old man, he had a Twitter handle at Tennessee because he was a Tennessee Vols fan, college football. So anyways, is a British minor that is trying to get extradited right now. But either way, the guy was, because he had at Tennessee handle, he didn't like it. Basically, the gist of the story is he started sending pizzas to the guy's house he didn't pay for, other takeout food, other things. And then finally, I guess there was a 911 call made that there's something going on at the residence, and the SWAT team shows up and scared the guy to death. He's 60 years old, and he comes, guns drawn from the SWAT team. And the guy comes out the door, hands up, and I guess it just freaked him out so bad he ended up having a heart attack and collapsed right then and died.
Wow.
So I was like, man, that's crazy.
Twitter kills.
Yeah, Twitter kills. Yeah, don't have the wrong handle. So.
Twitter kills Tennessee man, dubbed at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
How was that even available at Tennessee? He must have had that forever.
I don't know. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. And then a 60-year-old guy on Twitter, it's kind of unusual too. I'm not saying people can't be, but it's
okay. Be quiet, Jason.
You're
the young kid here, so
no, I'm not putting anybody down. Let's put this
no, not anybody that's 60. Okay,
what? You're not 60.
59, close enough.
Yeah, I'm up there too, Jason. So
no way.
Watch yourself, you little
Behave,
young
young
whippersnapper.
Hey, I turned 42 in November, so I mean, I'm right there with you. That's one of my technicians says. I turned 40, and he said, "Now you're pushing 50." So I was like,
"Yeah, right.
No.
That's right."
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, thank you very, very much, folks. If you stayed with us, Jason Miller and Tom Bull, continuing with the Summer Tech Series. And as we end tonight's show, it is the end of July. August will be a transition month. We will be doing some more Summer Tech Series, but we will also transition into back to basics. So all of the things that if you are starting a new business or you are trying to grow your business from residential to MSP, or if you want to do some change in your business, we're going to go back to all of the things that should have been on our mind when we started our business. So some of the things we talked about tonight in terms of what you want to do when you're starting out, whether it's starting the MSP business, how to set up your books properly is one of the topics that'll come up. What to do for marketing and getting new clients, all that will be coming up in the month of August. So we will be transitioning again, as I said, finishing out the Summer Tech series and the Back to Basics. And then we will be leading up to Techcon Unplugged in September. One thing that I'll say now, I wasn't going to announce it until next week, but the very last week in August, we will be having a little giveaway contest. And right now, I already know of 3 prizes that we will be giving away during that show. I think we're going to end up having 4 or 5 prizes, and I will be coming up with the things for people to do. It will be something more than just send in your email saying, give me a prize. There will be some things to do, some things where we may want you to listen to some shows, and it won't be really hard listen. And it may be answering some questions and things like that, but I have at least 3 giveaways at the end of August. So if you are listening to this and you are not up to date on your shows, try to get up to date because you'll want to be a part of this giveaway that we do. So that is it, folks, for this part 2 of the Summer Tech series with Jason and Tom. Guys, any last words that you want listeners to be left with about how to grow and manage your business?
I would say if I had one thing, one piece of advice to offer is to follow your gut. If you love the business and you love people and you love soothing the savage beast, then IT's for you. If you don't like any of those things, then it's probably not the right thing for you. Learn to distinguish the difference between the technical side of you and the business side of you, and embrace the business side. You need to understand your business. You need to understand your money while you're being a technician. So find the balance and follow your gut. And if it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that better myself. Nah, I think that's very good advice. One of the things is you have to be the person that can roll with the blows. If you get punched and knocked down a lot in this business, in the beginning it's really hard. So stick with it. If you can handle the blows, and stick with it and keep going. First couple of years I did this business, I didn't make any money, and I was a one man show myself for 6 or 7 years. So I mean, it's not, when you grow, it's great, but it comes with its own headaches. So just keep in there, keep going, just do it.
All right. Once again, guys, thank you very much for coming on the show, and thank you for doing a double dip here on the podcast. And for those of you that have watched live, I really do appreciate you staying with us, participating in the chat. If you're listening, thank you so much for downloading and subscribing to the show. We will continue next week with another episode. And this is Podnuts Pro, the IT business podcast that helps you grow your business better, stronger, and faster. That will do it for tonight. We'll see you next week. And until next time, holla.